Hello and welcome to Where's the Any Key, a podcast about all things geeky in nature. Once again, we're back, and I'm joined with my best friend and brother from another mother, Adam. How you doing, buddy?
Yo, hey Ivan, good man. I'm excited to talk about the Switch 2, as you can probably see on the screen right now, and everything from that because I'm super
Yeah,
excited. I picked up one. I've already pre-ordered, but
fantastic.
happy to start with
Fantastic.
you're keen on starting on.
Well, let's start with the Switch 2. I do want to talk about the new Naked Gun film as well. So, those of you who are listening who were actually either born in the 80s or remember the 80s and 90s would remember the fantastic film franchise that was based on a series called,
Police Squad.
I believe, Police Squad. That's right, Police Squad. For some reason, I was going to go with a Simpson reference and go
Mhm.
Police Cops, but
That would have been great.
yeah, no, it was Police Squad, and it is a fantastic humorous series, which led to a humorous film franchise with the incredible talented Leslie Nielsen,
Let's start there.
who
I'll chuck
also,
up the trailer. Sorry, carry
yeah,
on.
actually, yeah, and aside from that, also the new Superman film. So we're going to be talking films, we're going to be talking the new Switch and games, and any other little tidbits that cross our standard conversation, I guess, format, really. So,
Sure.
welcome.
Well,
Make
cities are
yourselves comfortable.
Yeah, sit back. I reckon we start there because did a good preamble there about the sort of little bit of the history. What I'd actually want to start with, what's your history? Have you seen Police Squad, the TV series?
I haven't seen this TV series. I do remember the film franchise, so the Naked Gun series, and I'd seen all three of them, and they're just gold. They're of their time, admittedly, but they are absolutely hilarious. Like the comedy, the slapstick comedy, the subtlety, the humor, all of it is just hilarious. It's I'm
Yeah,
just thinking of so many, like the double entendres as well, and
yeah.
it's absurdity humor is fantastic.
No, no,
And
nice
then, yeah,
beaver. Thanks. I just had it stuffed.
yeah. It and sort of something they did as well that was really hilarious to me was the um sort of the Abbott and Costello classic comedy of like who's on first, with a lot of that sort of um what's a cigarette? What was it? No. Oh, sorry. No. This is a cigarette. Oh, I know. Or here's a cigarette, and it's like, yeah. Oh, I know. When he's offering a cigarette to a
Yeah, yeah,
lady.
yeah. Yeah, well,
Who,
was it Sex Frags? No, no, no. I watched that, but by chance, about 2 days before the trailer for the new one came out, I was watching the second movie because I was like, I can't actually remember what happens in that. So I was like, stuff it. I'll just watch it again. And it was the good old. What do you think it was? I think they're trying to do something, and then I've forgotten his the chief's name, but anyway, he's Sex Frank. No, no, thanks. I'm quite tired.
yes. It's just that it was, oh goodness me. I mean, quite frankly, it's aged fantastically. I'm thinking of all the humor, and there was something like me and sort of my wife ended up watching recently was, and I say recently, goodness me, it might have been over 6 months ago, watching Police Academy.
Oh yeah.
Yep, here's the Beaver scene, the stuffed Beaver scene.
Yep. Yep.
But we ended up watching Police Academy, and and we found it to be actually a little troublesome. I hate to
Yeah, they haven't
I
aged
hate
well.
to say it.
Yeah.
They've not aged well. They did sort of tackle a lot of interesting
Yeah, racial topics
subjects,
and yeah.
racial topics. I have to say, and sexist topics as well,
Yeah, sexist, yeah.
which again, some of it was done uh,
Pretty on the nose,
pretty,
wasn't it? It was
yeah,
it was of its time, but and that's what I think the good thing you could say about the Naked Gun series. It's just quite goofy sort of stuff. Like there, she just walked into the wall, silly stuff like that.
yeah,
They trying to be really, sexy, but it's just all like dealing with a big piece of meat, and it's
yeah,
just goofy stuff that we all have to deal with, And there's I'm trying to even think
yeah,
if there's
like the current scene of like the chief eating everything,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it again it was one of those comedies I find like I'm not sure if you remember. Do you remember Hot Shots,
Yep.
which was like a parody of Top Gun?
Yeah, that's a good one
Like
too.
which which again led to the newer parodies, which were the scary movies, which then they
Yep.
themselves were kind of just as funny and silly.
Yeah.
Um, which again kind of half fell off. And again, I love this whole practical humor of
That's so good.
the still frame and just remaining still while a whole bunch of stuff kept happening.
Yeah.
Again, I'm looking forward to it. I'm fingers crossed because you have uh Seth MacFarlane, sort of, I think, what directing or
No, he's producing. So I was actually really nervous
producing.
when
Oh,
because when it first got announced about a year ago, they'd said that he was writing, and I just immediately went, well, this is dead in the water because I really we've talked about this something off stream before, but I really do
mm,
not like Seth MacFarlane's writing. I think he is actually he's so low. Like this, not trying to sound arrogant or elitist here, but he's so lowbrow with his humor, and that works at sometimes in Family Guy, but that never had any more depth outside of like toilet humor, and it was funny every now and again and whatever, but it was just most of all it
yeah.
was just rubbish. They kept repeating things. And I've said to you before that I prefer American Dad. And I was like, why does that happen? And I looked
Mhm.
into it, and Seth MacFarlane didn't have a huge presence in that. He created the characters, created the series, produced on it, but he had very little input in it. He just left that up to the main showrunners and the writers. And I much preferred American Dad over Family Guy. And I've tried watching Ted. Lasted about 20 minutes into that. That was terrible. I've only seen the reviews and the trailers for that Million Ways to Die in the West, and they look terrible. I haven't even bothered with the Orville. Apparently, that's really good, but I'm going through Star Trek Next
No.
Generation at the moment, so that's another thing. But
Well,
yeah,
I
the
would just
point was is that I was super nervous, but then when I heard that he was just producing on this, and I saw the other writers, and again that the new trailer, the teaser trailer, I've got a glimmer of hope. I'm still nervous because it's that sort of humor, like you said, of its time. It stands up well for what it is, and I think especially if you're showing it to your kids, it's pretty funny. I think they could get a lot of it. It's quite funny, but
mhm.
it's hard. Humor's that subjective thing, and a lot of modern comedies aren't really comedies. They're more like actions or dramas or whatever with a bit of comedy in it, and they're okay.
Yeah,
Like even the Marvel stuff's got a bit of humor in it, but they're not comedy movies. And
yeah.
anything that's a straight out comedy. In recent times, I've seen a few, and they've been just terrible. And I'm like I really want this Naked Gun one to be a throwback to this old one, but I'm nervous because a lot of modern writing in comedy isn't that. So
No, look, I absolutely agree with you with regards to everything you've said so far. I mean, and again, I think I've stuck with a lot more stuff. For example, the Orville. I tried about, I think, 10 episodes, and that really fell off for me. It just people say it's good, and the thing is this: you go into it thinking it is a comedy, and it's not a comedy. It is a sci-fi film with a slightly more, I guess, light-hearted is probably the more accurate term. A light-hearted feel to it because there are comedic elements to it, but it's not a complete comedic series. Because I went into it thinking, "Oh, this is going to be comedy," and everyone else who's seen it, it goes, "No, no, it has comedic elements, but it's not strictly comedic."
mm,
And you're right, and again, not to get political, not to get stand on my soapbox here and everything. The problem I find with modern day comedic writing, and I guess a lot of better, I guess YouTubers have said this better than I have, or other people with much more eloquent um, um, ways of speaking have said this better than I have, and what I'm about to say is w- when you restrict comedy to not offending anybody, you don't really have much to go off.
yeah,
Comedy is within itself a almost a reflection of society, being able to point out things
that are
and
ridiculous.
you know
Yeah,
that are ridiculous, and or kind of being able to laugh at ourselves.
yeah. And
And
if you do it with that soft touch, and it's all in good fun and good humor, it comes off much better. There are ways you can do it which is really poor, but
exactly right.
you're always going to get someone upset. I'm sure if I looked into it, the original Naked Gun movies, I'm sure that would have upset some people at the time because again, the humor was different back then, and that bar has changed over the years. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, like going back to this new one, the sort of setup here is the little girl going into the bank, and then the police saying. don't go in there, and then it tears it off, and it's Liam Neeson underneath it. I think it's a great gag. Does harken back to that ridiculousness of the original movies. And one thing to say about
It
Liam Neeson,
does.
I thought he's a good. I was first like when I heard he was announced, I actually first was positive reactions because I was like, he could do deadpan humor. I've seen him in, I think it's Anchorman. He's one of the Anchormen in that, and he's really good just as he's deadpan. The question is his goofiness. I'm not, because that's the great thing about Leslie Nielsen is he had a great goofy side to him, and it worked really well. He could switch that up. So I'm interested to see how Liam Neeson goes with it. But I mean this scene
Well,
here, that he's fantastic.
well, that's the thing. I found him, and again, I know that you mentioned Ted. Now, not the series. I saw some of the movie. I can't remember. I think it might be the second movie. Again, I saw parts of the first movie and really wasn't into it. Really wasn't getting me. The second movie, I sort of saw bits of here and there. I think I had like a sibling that was watching it. But yeah, no, with the Liam Neeson thing, there's a particular section where he goes in and he asks Ted if he can buy tricks. So I'm not sure if you know tricks. The whole I think slogan or for that cereal is tricks are for kids, not for rabbits, because the whole mascot is a rabbit, and he sort of takes the cereal from the kids, and that's sort of like the premise of every commercial is always
Mm.
the rabbit trying to steal the cereal from the kids, and in the end the kids always beat him, and they're like, silly rabbit, tricks are for kids. And so he goes into the whole sort of, I guess, store, and he like sneakily sort of from like he pulls out, so sorry, he opens up his jacket and he goes, listen, I've been made to know that these are for kids. If I buy this, will anyone follow me or like sort of come for me? And he's like in complete deadpan, being very serious, and it's such a absurd little sort of scene where Ted's like, "Nah, man, you can buy this." He goes, "Are you sure?" And he's sort of like, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm sure you can buy this." So he pays for it, and then he's like stuffs it back in his like sort of, you know, hides it under his like jacket or whatever, and then he sort of like rushes out of the store, sort of panicking, which
Yeah,
there is a lot of great humor in that. And again,
and
I've
his
probably
delivery.
butchered this thing, yeah, but
Mm.
in his delivery and everything, I think it's hilarious. I don't know about the blood scene, sort of like what we're sort of seeing now, where he sort of like stabs and everything. I don't remember if the original sort of Naked Gun in any of them there was blood. So I'm not sure about
Not
that
much.
sort of out of him.
Yeah, that I mean that was all digital. They weren't squibs. That was
Yeah.
digital effects. But that they had similar sort of stuff because that's what I was noticing. I was watching the second movie the other day, and it's like, oh, there's not a lot of blood, and there's a couple of little scenes, and they put it in there for where they need to. Plus, back then it might be the same still. Back then they were pretty the what do you call them, the motion picture association, or maybe that's not them. There's another one that does the ratings. They were pretty harsh on anything. Like if you've got too much, you'll have
Right.
X amount of blood, then it becomes a certain other rating, and they obviously wanted to try and keep it, PG. I think PG-13 or something. Some of them, but yeah, I guess the other thing I liked from this trailer was the callback to the other characters, and
Yes, absolutely.
the very first part of this scene when he does go, thank you, Dad, or whatever to that, and I was like, oh God, they're going to do this, and then they did the rest of the soldier, all the rest of the cast doing it. Like, okay, you got me back again, because that's the sort of silliness you'd expect from the Naked Gun.
I,
So
and what I appreciated was the very sharp barb at the end with the
yeah,
OJ
that's a good way of
and
doing it too. Yeah,
that was very sharp and very I like that. I really did like that. I guess moving on from this, the other one as well, like I guess, and we will come back to the Switch 2, people. We will come back to Switch 2. Is the Superman film, the new Superman film.
yeah.
I admit I didn't have, and again, being a comic book nerd and everything, I didn't have necessarily high hopes looking at it. Originally when I first saw the like parts of a teaser when it was first announced and everything, I was like, oh, okay, they're doing another Superman film. Good, and how they're going to screw this one up? Because again, I won't lie, I was a bit of a Henry Cavill fan. Um, and it was a sort of like, we just got Henry Cavill. He's he does a great Superman. He looks good in the suit. I won't lie. All right, yeah, yeah. Um, but looking at it, it's looking really well. I'm loving the uniform. I'm loving everything. I did see a bunch of things as well that were kind of interesting for me. One of them being uh, the fantastic and extremely talented Nathan Fillion. Yes, I am a Firefly nerd. But seeing him as Guy Garner
Yeah.
had mixed feelings because Guy
Really?
Garner is yes, I hate Guy Garner as a Green Lantern. He's just the
Yeah.
most dislikable character. Oh, also, because I was looking at this and I'm like, oh look, the uniform looks kind of like classic.
Yeah.
Classic-y. It looks good. I love I love what they did with him as Clark Kent being a completely different something different with the hair. Love that.
Mm.
Um, it, the S is not necessarily looking like an S, and I like that. For me, I'm like, oh, okay, I want to see what with the symbol. Look, the fact that James Gunn is attached to this, I'm kind of intrigued. Again, Lois to me has always and will always remain as a new. I just find her annoying as a character, and again, just because she's just so in your face, and like even for back then she was like, I'm all about seeking the truth and honesty, and you know and the world needs to know, and I'm a hard-hitting reporter, and I'm like, oh god, could you get someone who is uh, just so unlikable
Mm.
as a character. Also, I don't know how I feel about this because
Oh, Crypto.
it's completely CGI. Yeah, crypto is
It
CGI.
actually looks pretty good. I was going to say, and I think it's the way they've shot it because it's on that
Really?
white on white. It's kind of like the thing I always go back to when I talk about CGI in films.
Love this is Lex.
I still can't believe like we haven't got it as good as Jurassic Park. But then when you look back at those shots, a lot of them were done in dark. Like they were clever the way they use the
Yeah.
cinematography, and that was in that shot there. That's what I felt. It was like that doesn't look great, but
There
on
you go,
that
Guy
shot it
Garner.
looked all right. Yeah, yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, I mean, looking at this, like I'm a pretty big super fan, I'd say, of a lot of the films. I've liked pretty much all of them for one way or another. Not so much in like Batman, Superman, and the modern take on him. I still prefer the more optimistic Superman over anything else. And I'm hopeful for this one because James Gunn's doing it, and he does good. He does good, quite good. Touchy feely, or what do you call it? It's wholesome type
I hope
of
so.
movies. But the other thing that I didn't like is sometimes he gets too goofy. Like he did even like in I watched finally got around to watching Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and at the end of that I didn't really like it as much as the other two because it was everything was undercut by humor, and it sort of like made those touching
Yeah,
moments kind of fade away to me. I was a bit like, yeah, like I did a big heart, pulling your heartstrings with Rocket Raccoon and that, and I just didn't feel much of it compared
yeah.
to the other two films because he'd had them a bit more, like especially the second film where he realizes his father put cancer into his mum and all that sort of stuff, and they kept that heavy hitting, and that was good. But yeah,
Yeah.
and of course, what was the other one I watched? His the Suicide Squad, and that was okay, but it was very goofy in a lot of it, and it was
Yeah.
like, meh, it was it was a fun watch, but this I think like just based on some of these scenes, looks like he's going for a little bit more of that heavier presence in some of these spots, and
I hope
that's
so.
what I want to see. I want to see the good the hero to aspire to as Superman. He is that ideal, like a god that everyone looks up to, and he's always trying to do the
Oh,
best
yeah.
thing. And the obviously, his big thing is trying to understand and be as human as possible with all the godlike powers he has. And I really hope they do more of that because you
Well,
don't need much in a Superman movie. You don't need to explore any of the what if he was dark and all that sort of stuff. Nah, you just need him saving the
yeah,
world and yeah,
yeah, a lot of people go, Superman's very boring. Well, the thing is, and what I really appreciate and love about him is Superman has and always will be to me. Um, and again, I think this is I can't remember when this phrase was coined, but a lot of the geeks know him as, the big blue Boy Scout. He is that. He is the big blue Boy Scout, and he's always been and will always be the big blue Boy Scout. He is, um, typical, humble American Pie style,
yep,
I will always do good and be the show being better
yeah,
than what everyone else expects, and it's kind of as well what puts Lex Luthor off of him, because Lex Luthor is, I guess, the antithesis of that. He's very much corporate, cutthroat.
yep,
I will do whatever I need to be at the top, and and I guess as well Clark's meek mannerisms and behavior and all that sort of work well against sort of the lowest hard hitting sort of I'm a city girl, the world will eat, the city will eat you alive if you don't sort of harden up
yeah,
sort of mentality and personality, whereas he's always been the better of that. He's always been the kinder, the person who's not afraid to stop and you know give somebody his umbrella when it's raining because he doesn't mind getting wet, sort of thing. He's always been that, and I love that about Superman. Whereas everyone goes, oh, Batman's the more cooler. I go, yeah, in a way he kind of is, but I go,
Why do we need to compete?
yeah, why do
Like
we need to compete?
what?
Superman would never compete.
Well,
That's the thing.
I mean, you don't need to compete at all. Like I like this for that, and I like this for that. I
Exactly right.
I don't get drawn into those nerdy talks where versus. It might be fun for like a power comparison, like that sort of stuff. Like how they approach this, but not like who's better than others. Like you like what you like, man. Like who cares? Like I've
Exactly right.
been.
And
Go on.
I was gonna say no, that's exactly right. And I've because again I've seen that from the beginning of sort of I guess the more younger fans really tend to do a lot of that, and then the older fans have really gotten past that and gone, you know what? Each hero has their strengths and weaknesses, and you got to love them for who they are and what they represent. And I agree with you. I mean, I've gotten so past that, and I like I get the general consensus of like, oh yeah, Batman's more dark and cool and brooding. I go, yeah, and they go, and I guess some of the bigger complaints like, Superman's just so good, and that's boring. And it's like, I'm like, nah. I go, you can look at it that way, or you can look at it as each one of his stories as being a hopeful, sort of short story that you can enjoy, and I go, and in reality, not all of his stories are dark. He's always sacrificing something. He's always having to put his sort of wants and needs aside for everybody else's.
Yeah.
I go, for that matter, the Flash himself. The Flash is a fantastic character. He's such a great selfless hero. I go, when you look at it all, Batman's a real jerk of a hero in
In a
comparison to a
way,
lot of other ones.
yeah.
Yeah.
And going back to what you said
Um,
before with you mentioned briefly that Lex Luthor. So you like the choice of Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor?
I do because I've always preferred the very cutthroat, serious, business corporate. I'm going to. He's very much. God, I don't want to make this comparison. Uh, I won't make the comparison, but he's very much sort of corporate America.
Well,
Sort of,
let's be honest.
and
That's what they're going to do. So they talk about in this trailer about it's kind of setting up as like America or the world's divided. We need to, and Lex is capitalizing on that. So how is Superman going to bring the world back together again? And I think that's fine. Like you topical in your movies, it's always a nice idea. Again, it's that ideal situation, and he's the ideal character to bring us back together. So I'm completely with you, and I love Nicholas Hoult. I think he's a great actor, and he's just getting better as
it
he
is.
ages. So I'm looking forward to seeing him as Lex Luthor because I felt was it Jesse Eisenberg was the last Lex Luthor?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
even
he's a
want to talk
bit.
about that.
He was a weird, too
He was a very
neurotic
weird.
and weird. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
It didn't suit him.
like no, I agree with you 110%. He is very neurotic. He is the modern equivalent of Woody Allen. Like he's just this
Yeah,
neurotic,
but
like
to be
obnoxious,
fair, that was what they were going
annoying
for with
person.
that, right? And the direction and the writing of that. So it was kind of that's the pro. I mean, the whole film I could bag out the other films. Like I didn't mind Man of Steel. That was all right, but even
I
then, I
didn't like
still
that.
had my quirks with it. But
And the other thing as well, like I was talking to an ex-colleague about this, and I go, look, and he was telling me about Lois, and I'm like, I go, you know what? I go, the Lois is your typical comic book Lois, dark haired, pretty. I think she has blue eyes, or whatever her colored eyes. Sort of typical. I am a modern sort of working girl who no man can keep me down sort of personality. And again, Lois has always been that. She's always been someone who goes against the grain, and good on her. Like, and people who like her or whatever, good on them. Like, quite frankly, great. Me personally, as a character, she's never.
yeah, you really don't like it, do you?
I find her annoying. I've always found her
That's
as
fair enough.
annoying because I again it like the fact that she like doesn't even register Clark on any level and sees him as weak and sort of make sort of almost like in some instances she's sort of gone out of her way to do things like without Clark because Clark will slow her down.
And then, oh, what? You
And
Superman? Oh, my opinion's completely changed. Come to me.
yeah, exactly. Which to me, I'm just like, And whereas Clark is just nice to everybody, and I tend to like people who are just
You're very
kind and
protective.
nice to everybody.
Yeah.
It's like I'm like you're a horrible person who's trying to be passed up
You
as a
don't
good
deserve
person.
him.
I go, yeah, you got horrible traits, like walking red flag.
But yeah, is there
um,
anything else you wanted to talk about
with
this
regards
this
to
one?
oh
Yeah.
yeah, like there are a few other characters. There's
Yeah, so can
like
you explain
Guy
who they were?
Gardner.
Because I'll see if I can. So it's Guy Gardner. There was I'll pause it when it gets to it
Guy
because some of
Gardner,
them I don't know them.
yeah. Guy
So
Gardner is is
the
another
Green Lantern. Yeah, I
green
know that.
is a Green
Yep.
Lantern. Yep. And so he's very much a ex-cop, and this is so weird because Nathan Fillion actually voiced one of the other Green Lanterns. I think it was Hal Jordan,
Oh,
who's the
cool.
beloved, like a
Yeah.
beloved Green Lantern. Everyone loves him. Everyone loves Hal Jordan. But like in one of the animated films. But
And
Guy Gardner is so
that
just
was
like
Ryan Reynolds in that spin-off,
in the
that
movie,
movie?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, in the movie original. But Guy Gardner, the reason he's unliked by most people is because like he's like an ex New York, I think New Yorker cop who's like very on the beat. He is a good guy because he's genuinely a good guy because he's a hero. Like he goes by the book and everything, and he's all about making sure justice is served. So he's a good guy in the end of things. He's just a jerk about it.
Yeah, okay.
He's just like Mr. Wannabe tough guy. Well, he is a tough guy, I guess.
So
But
a
he's
bit
like,
like Wolverine.
oh no, not even. Wolverine's likable. Guy Gardner's more
Well,
like, oh,
he's a jerk.
listen, man. Yeah, just a jerk. He's so unlike like like the open, I guess, thing about it is that he's known as a jerk. Because like he's the type of yeah. So and he's got like this horrible haircut, like bowl cut. And the thing
Yeah,
about him is,
I like it.
um,
Goofy.
yeah, the thing about him is, oh, so that's Hawk Girl.
That's
I
Hawk
think
Girl. Okay.
yeah,
She a good
Hawk
girl
Girl.
or bad
Yeah, she's
person?
cool. No,
Yep.
she's good. And there is another guy. I don't know what that monster is.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not sure
Um,
about that, but I mean, there's another superhero, or there's a couple. There's that
yeah,
dude. So they,
don't know
I'm
who that may
guessing he
be.
might be like a Krypton, maybe someone from Krypton, or
Maybe,
because I'm assuming like in
maybe.
any of these stories, it's always Kryptonites is Kryptonite, so they're gonna have something to do with that, especially he's been beaten up. And I'm assuming you're gonna get
Um,
who's that?
oh, oh, oh,
What's
I was
that
saying,
dude's?
although there are other heroes. Doomsday's probably who you're thinking of.
No,
The
no,
one that
no.
yes.
The other Friels from Man of Steel, Jor-El or something, or no, what's his
Oh,
name?
oh, 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 oh. So Jor-El's his father's name.
Father
Kyle is Kyle's son, and you're thinking of Zod.
Zod. That's it.
Who is
Yeah,
General Zod? Yeah,
General Zod. Yeah,
who is also Kryptonite. Um,
he looks cool.
Yeah, he does look cool. He looks fantastic as
Mhm.
Lex. I get. There is another guy here who I
Yeah, well, who was that? Actually, see if I can get that back. There's a quick shot of he looks like Black Noir from The Boys.
yeah, no, there is don't know who that guy
I
is.
can't quite.
Not from that image.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah,
quite
there is
pause it.
another guy with who like
No, it doesn't
a
work.
black dude with like with a like half this guy.
This guy,
He is yeah who if I'm right is oh it's something like
mask face.
oh Mask Face Man. No, it's
Yeah.
um like oh what is it fires it's got fire in his name.
He's got a
He's
force field up here.
yeah he's but like he's got like what's it called Firestorm. Like I
Firestorm.
think it might be Firestorm. I'm thinking it might be Firestorm. Um
And then there's
uh
that. Like I don't know if that might be Superman just in this shot in the flame. So that's kind of hard to tell. Doesn't there is a cape, but kind of doesn't look like it looks
that's
like he's got a
Superman.
helmet. Yeah, I get Superman. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's Superman just because it's someone
Oh
that
yeah,
says
there you go. And then there's that shot. Yeah, fair enough.
yeah. Um there is yeah, it
So there's going to be a few different characters, which
yeah.
is surprising too. I was kind of expecting just a Superman thing, but the other thing to note with this movie, I think it's now just called Superman. It was originally what was it going to be called? Superman. Gosh, I've forgotten now. There was a working title for it, which was it was weird, like seeing that because this is effectively another reboot, new Superman, like as in new actor,
Oh
all
no,
new actors.
this is actually Mr. Terrific. The sort of
The
black actor with sort of the black T mask on. Mr.
oh
Terrific.
right,
I'm not really familiar with. Mr. Terrific. He,
Great name. He's terrific.
yeah, Mr. Terrific. So he's like he's meant to be like a really, from what I remember, he's meant to be intelligent. Now I don't know if he knows has like telekinesis or something. I can't remember. Like he's
Is he more of a
I
modern?
know
Is he?
he's a hero,
Okay,
but
yeah.
no, he's been around for a while. But
Mm.
like um no, I can't remember if like telekinesis is his power. I don't remember if
The
it's
power of being
telekinesis or
awesome.
some form.
He's terrific. He's awesome.
Yeah,
He's Trump's he's terrific, he's wonderful, he's fantastic.
there we go.
Yeah.
Um, like, but like telekinesis, like with machines. It is something that I know very little because the good thing
Okay.
about DC, it has so many different heroes,
Right.
and some of them are just like fantastic, cool heroes with, and they've got like these really quirky names like Mister Terrific, and like I think there's
Hawk Girl.
one of the Batman's villains is like Condiment Man. Um,
That's great. I want to see him in
like
a movie.
oh yeah, he would be
You
fantastic. He'd be
missing some
hilarious.
sauce? Here you go. Thank you, Mr. Condiment
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, but I think he's a villain actually, so I think it might be a
Oh,
villain.
so maybe he switches. You're like, oh, what's really? He'll give you one of those. You know, you can get the mustard or the tomato sauce, the generic ones
Yeah.
where they're yellow or red. So it's someone asks for like, I want some tomato sauce, but they put mustard into the tomato sauce, but he gives them that instead. Oh, this is
It's like,
mustard.
haha. Oh, that's brilliant. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be really cool.
Yeah,
Like I said,
I'm probably
I
gonna go to the
enjoyed Amy
movies.
Adams. Yeah, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I probably
Mm,
will actually. But
mm.
I enjoyed Amy Adams as Lois. It's probably the only Lois I've actually enjoyed,
Yeah, she was
aside
good.
from the fact that she is quite attractive. Aside from that, she's actually kind of more humble and nice, which I
Yeah,
really
more
enjoyed.
low
Which again
key.
isn't Lois's personality whatsoever.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, so that's why
So
I
you
enjoyed it
preferred it?
because it's like,
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
she's the most Lois that's been. So I've enjoyed that one. Um, so I'll be interested. I think this actually, I've got kind of high hopes for this one. I hope it's going to be good. I hope it'll sort of bring back um a lot of fans of the DC universe, as opposed to what's it called? Everyone's sort of getting tired of hero movies at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
yeah,
speaking of
yeah.
that, I wanted to have a quick talk about. I've just ended up finishing up Invincible season 3. So
Ah, brilliant.
we may have spoken about this in the podcast before, but assuming you're aware of Invincible and the
Yeah,
comic
yeah,
series of that,
I know
yeah,
enough about it. I haven't
yeah.
watched the series yet. It's one on my list that I do want to watch.
Just do not
Yeah,
watch it
I'll
with a little man around because it's very violent.
yeah,
Very like
no,
people
it's
are getting their
absolutely
guts torn out, heads torn off, and crushed, and yeah,
yeah.
it's full on.
For those, yeah, I was gonna say for those of us fixing for the boys sort of fix, um, watch this instead.
And
If you can't
yeah,
get the boys,
I got
go
to
for this.
say, yeah, well, I got to say, I prefer this over the boys because it is still that very much. He's a Superman-like character, not quite. He's not completely. The Invincible name comes in where he never gives up, basically. But um, it, it's still got that Saturday cartoon-ish type of feel. Like there's some goofy scenarios, like with those two characters for the Mauler twins, the blue ones. They got those sort of things, but then they've also got like some of more of the heavier stuff with like this. He's old man Omni Man and
Yeah, with
um,
the
the
Viltrumites and all them.
yeah, Viltrumites. It's great character development. That's the great thing about this, and they've got a really good cast of characters, really good pacing. Like it's constantly something is happening in the episodes, and I just don't know where it's going next, and they surprise you with different things. All the voice characters, so of course Mark Grayson or Invincible's Stephen Ewan, and then the old man
Mhm.
there, that's Cecil, and he's voiced by Walter Goggins. He's really good.
Oh,
I had to
yeah.
I looked up the different voice actors. I was really amazed with some of them. Like, yeah, Walter Goggins is a great voice actor. Um, there's some other big ones in there as well. Omni Man's what's his name?
Obviously, yeah.
J. Jonah,
Um,
like J. Jonah
yeah.
Jameson and the
What's his name? Simmons.
yeah, J.K. Simmons. Yeah, so he's
J.K. Simmons.
excellent.
There we go.
He's excellent
Yeah.
in
Oh,
any
he's
voice role.
fantastic. He's absolute legend. Absolute
Yeah,
legend.
and
And
then Mark Hamill does I've forgotten his name. Anyway, he's like basically the confidant to Omni Man and Invincible, and does his costumes and what have you. But yeah, I
okay.
really enjoyed the series. It's so far. It's one of these. I'm typically. I think I've told you before. I don't really like watching series that haven't been completed. I drop off. Like I haven't actually gone back to the boys after
Mhm.
season 2 because I'm just been like, oh, I can't be bothered keeping up. I'll wait till it's all done. And this one though,
I agree with
I was had this on my calendar when this was coming out, this series, because it's something about it, man. I just love it. Easy to watch, great character development, and yeah, highly recommend it.
Yeah, no, it is on my list. It is one of the ones I do want to watch. I know enough about it, and then again, because there's always been a sense, like I said, like the reason I said this is a lot like the boys. There's always been that again, funnily enough, going back to the Superman argument, there's always been the whole what if Superman was bad? What if, we were sort of against a Superman or against people like Superman, which essentially are the Viltrumites. They're these incredibly powerful, you know, beings, and like, how do we fight against that? Has always been sort of the argument. Has always been the case. How do you fight against that? With, like I said, like Omni Man, you've got what's his name, Homelander, um, and characters like that, which again I've always found to be enjoyable concepts and ideas. But yeah, look, it's on the list. I do want to watch it. I do like the idea of it. It to me, it just makes it the whole concept of it is, I find fun.
Yeah,
Um,
but
like
cool.
it
Yeah, go.
being that powerful,
Yeah,
like a character being that powerful and just going, you know what,
yeah. What's going?
nothing can stop me.
Yeah, what's going to happen? What's next? Yeah. Right. So
Yeah.
do you want to move on to the? Is there anything else you want to talk about? What you've been watching, or do you want to move on to the Switch 2 stuff?
Watching. What have I been watching? Uh, Nothing interesting actually. I have not been watching anything interesting. Although I've been wanting to go back to some old movies, but again, that's perhaps for another time. I'll touch base on
Yeah.
like some old films that I want to watch.
Cool. No worries. All right. Well, Switch 2. So the Switch
Yes.
2 was revealed recently. I kind of want to know your overall thoughts. What did you think of not only the presentation, but the console itself and some of the games shown?
So this is going to be quite controversial.
I'm expecting it.
When you said, yep, when you said that you already pre-ordered it, I am still trying to find a reason to pre-order it aside from what I feel is a pretty um how should I put this? Pretty oh, well, look, there's no
Uns-
other way of putting it, and a shit move by Nintendo by going, oh, we'll have Switch to exclusive games, so you have no choice but to buy this,
Are
like
you
the
surprised though?
new. Not surprised. It's a shit move, as in, I got look. The device is fantastic. I love the Switch. I think it's fantastic. And my reasoning behind is it enough? And again, time will tell. Is it enough of an upgrade to actually buy this new product? Kind of, sort of doing a Wii U
Well, that's a
style
question for you.
upgrade.
Like for me, it's quite simple.
Yeah.
Is I do buy Nintendo consoles. I think I talked about this offline maybe, but I bought I've got the first Switch course, but I bought the Steam Deck, and that kind of covers my. And I've got a powerful PC, so that covers pretty much
Mm.
everything else. Now that Xbox are going completely, they could basically the new strategy is everything's an Xbox, and then PlayStation are now finally bringing their first party titles to PC. I no longer need a PlayStation, so the only one. And you're right in one way. Like, if Nintendo decided to go to cross platform, I probably wouldn't have that console, but the fact is, I think we know that they can get away with it because they've been doing it for so long. They're absolutely dominating
Mm.
in terms of sales across. Like everyone keeps going Xbox, PlayStation. Oh no, Nintendo are like they're in another planet. They're killing it in terms of that, and they know
Oh,
they've got
absolutely.
that. So that I don't see them ever. I can't actually even forecast a world where they don't completely go cross platform, and I've resigned to that. So I'm 100% buying it for the Nintendo first party games. The console itself, I love too. Great upgrades. I was a little bit nervous about the display because after hearing
Mm.
everybody talk about the Switch OLED, and I'd never seen it had an OLED device. So I was like, I don't know what they're talking about. It might be all right, whatever. When I got the Steam Deck OLED, I was like, now I get what they mean. It's incredible. And
Mhm,
I was a bit
mhm.
bummed out when I saw this presentation. Went, oh, it's LCD. I'm like, oh, do I wait for the
Yeah.
OLED? But people have been reporting on the floor. They've said actually the LCD technology's got really good these days. I think it's fine. It works. It's really good. They don't have any qualms about it. So that brought me on board. I bought it this morning. I was umming and ahhing because I was tossing up. Like normally I buy these for the next Zelda, but this trailer just there, we saw Mario Kart World, and after seeing a bit more of the deep dive into that, my God, I've never been so more excited for a Mario Kart ever. Like I'm
Look,
so into it.
I gotta admit. I have to admit, I agree with you. I think that Mario Kart looks absolutely awesome. Everything that, and again, I'm not an original Mario Kart guy. I was never an original Mario Kart. I was always Need for Speed. When PlayStation stuff came out. And so I was like, oh, look, Mario Kart is not even a real car racer, whatever. It's just a goofy little
Kids
thing.
game.
The same way, yeah, kids game. Yeah, the same as and again, because I haven't necessarily got any love for Nintendo
Mm.
characters because I've always been Sega or PlayStation. And so again, I like for me, like seeing Mario, like to be honest, and again, I hate Mario. There, controversial. I've said it. I
My
hate Mario. I
pearls.
actually prefer Bowser, and and you know what? I like it when Bowser beats Mario. Screw Mario.
Jeez, evil. This
um,
is Mr. Superman
evil.
here we're talking about.
Yeah. Because for me, I always thought like, what the hell, Mario? Like, why you're just
He's so
a
smug.
fat
Look at
farmer
him.
from Brooklyn.
Yeah, look at him. He's so
He's so
smug. Look at
smug.
him.
Look at look, but in all honesty, I agree with you with that. Look, I think this new Mario Kart game looks absolutely awesome. Like every little feature that they've done, making it open, well, slightly, I guess, open
Pretty
world
much
or
open
open
world,
world.
yeah.
Yeah, pretty much in this case, and driving from
One
one
track to another. That is
to
just
another.
genius. Just to say that as a
It is
design,
genius,
because
isn't it?
all you want to do when I play Mario Kart is play more of Mario Kart. And this is like,
Yeah,
hey, you're going to race to the track now. We're going to race to the next track. I'm like, that is just gold. Like that alone for me
yeah,
is worth the
it
pickup
is
price.
brilliant.
But then you got this, like you got the knockout tour. So it's a like some of the
Exactly.
races apparently last like 15, 20 minutes. I'm like, yes, music to my ears. I love that
Yeah.
knockout style battle royale type of situation.
So the other thing as well I was going to say is with regards to sort of a lot of Nintendo products is they really so again, this is going back to, and I'm hoping that a lot of our listeners are sort of, I guess, our age, sort of from the 80s and 90s, would understand that when the original NES came out, it was marketed, and this was after I think the video game console or the video game crash, like in the 80s, and sort of the things weren't looking good for video games.
Mm.
Nintendo sort of really brought it back, and they were really clever with saying that the NES or the entertainment system wasn't a console, it was a toy because they were going to avoid
Yeah.
taxing. And so what I've found is that they've really lent into that sort of heritage because I can see this, like a lot of the features, sort of like the voice chat of the new Switch 2, the camera, the
Mm.
being able to take pictures, the fact that it's
Mouse mode.
portable. A lot of this, yeah, mouse mode. A lot of this stuff is very much something I would have loved as again, like I said, as a kid, as
Yep.
sort of when between the ages of 5 and I guess 12, when
Yep.
these games are designed for this. This is
Yeah.
perfectly marketed for either a family console or like a kid style console, like something that you wouldn't be out of place for like kids playing on the other thing as well, like sorry, with the game sharing, that you don't no longer need the physical, other kids don't need other physical copies. You can share a game up to I think 3 other consoles, which is brilliant. Like at family gatherings, like when all the grown-ups are doing whatever, I can see kids playing on this thing, like
Yeah.
sharing games, sharing memories. This is fantastic. The console itself is fantastic.
Mm.
Look, the new size feels fantastic. What I don't agree with necessarily is the magnets and the little sticky out tab. I can see that being broken a lot more,
Mm.
although time will tell.
People have mentioned that
And again, the
it's
reason,
a concern.
yeah, and well, fantastic. I think that they share my
Yeah.
concern with that. The other reason I said with the magnet stuff, it's not because I don't appreciate the snap on and snap off of the magnets. It's just with the previous design, I felt it more secure. And I guess as
Ah,
somebody now
well, that's
who's older,
yeah. So that's interesting. A lot of people from so there was a because I listen to quite a few gaming podcasts, and they actually had this is a bit cruel. So a lot of the I actually sounds a bit parasocial and weird, but I like watching the reactions from a lot of the podcasts that I watch. Essentially, I'm not really listening to, but I'm watching. And a couple of the ones that I wanted to see were actually at the Nintendo event in New York City when this direct was going on. So
Mhm.
what they had to do is they had to go into this direct, like into a theater basically, and all watch it at the same time as the rest of the world was watching it. They weren't allowed to film their reactions, they weren't allowed to take any cameras in, and then they all got funneled into different areas where they got to play all these games and they got to try out the Switch too. So that's the cool part of it. The downside was we didn't get to see the reactions, but whatever. But I've lost the train of thought. Oh yeah, no. So they talked about when they picked up the device, they actually said they feel much better with the magnets. They said it's got a much more sturdier design, like the feel, like they don't flex, kind of like you kind of can
Mm.
get on that. And they said they did say the concern is that little clipper bit in the inside, but they did say it's got a little bit of flex built into it, so they've obviously tried to compensate for potential issues there. But they also said with the design is you can't actually clip the magnets on top to bottom. You have to sort of angle the Joy-Cons bottom up. So it's part of the design built in there to try and avoid any of those situations, which I thought was really
Okay.
clever. And the other thing that I really like about, and I love you talk about the toy aspect of this, is it feels really premium when you're actually disconnecting or disengaging the Joy-Con. So instead of having you got that little tiny button on the current switch, this one's more like a tab, and it doesn't get it away off your hands when you're gaming, but it feels apparently really satisfying to click that and disengage the magnets. Furthermore, the magnets are actually the SL and the SR buttons on the inside of the Joy-Con, which I thought was cool.
I did hear that.
They're actually
I did
magnets.
hear
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I think it's brilliant. And look, I mean, again, like I said, that was my concern. Obviously, they've really thought this through. Is because I guess as a kid, I admit I was quite destructive. I mean,
Oh, we all
again,
were.
not out of malice. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
well,
just
not out of malice
clumsy
or
and
anything.
silly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, just like oh yeah. So that's always been a worry of mine, especially now that I'm older. I'm like, now that I'm paying for the stuff, and now that I'm
Yeah.
buying everything, it's the whole like, oh, I don't want to break this. But look, the reason I'm umming and ahhing, and look, quite frankly, I possibly will end up getting this. I'm not sure if I will wait for the next wave, perhaps. Is yes, look, the game's on there. My little man has sort of been raised to be a Nintendo kid, I guess, through sort of the Switch itself and a few other gaming stuff. The games here are more accessible, to be quite frank, than any of the other games I've seen
Mm, yeah.
on the other consoles. They're just not as um, kid friendly per
Oh,
se.
yeah, absolutely.
So,
I mean, that's like you said before,
so
the demographic for this is kids, and it doesn't mean that adults can't enjoy it. But I mean, I love. We've talked about in the past about the simplicity of game design and like Elden Ring, how simple and that is, even though it's an adult themed game. But uh, the absolute gold standard for me are the Nintendo games. They just design them around fun, and that's like we'll get to Donkey Kong Bonanza. That just looks very simple premise.
mm,
Smash things, I'm like perfect. I'm in.
yeah, no, it is, and I mean, and yeah, like you said, the demographic shows it's colorful, it's bright, it looks good. Um, yeah, look, like I said, controversially, maybe I'll wait a little while before I do get it,
Well, I'm
but
surprised to actually
I
hear you
got
say that because I actually thought coming into this, I'm thinking you won't buy it because you don't need you've got your ROG Ally, sorry, Legion Go, and
mm,
you're set on that. You don't need anything else. You can do everything on that. I was actually kind of surprised to hear that because ideally, what I'd love to do is the other thing probably need to mention I found out you actually get a year's free subscription to Nintendo Switch Online, just the base edition, not the expansion pack. So that's what I was thinking
okay,
is, and with this NVIDIA technology, it's using the microphone where apparently you can be over the other side of the room and it pick up your voice. As I'd love to jump on with you and the little band and do some like online Mario Kart, for example. But I was expecting you not
you would love
to.
that.
I was expecting, yeah, you not to pick it up at all. So I was like, oh, it's probably not going to happen. But now hearing there might be a chance. It'd be good. I mean, not to tell you any further, but
Mm,
I've bought the Switch 2 and it comes with Mario Kart. That's only going to be available till April next year. Then they're actually going to take it off the market, which
cool.
I don't
Okay,
trust Nintendo to do that because Mario Kart sells as a system seller, so I'd imagine that'll carry on. But they have called out that said this is a limited time thing, and that might be one just to keep in mind because instead of it costing full
okay,
price, because I think now the new games are like $110 in Australia, I think they're saying like $80 in the States, but it works out to be they're basically going to be $110 here now for the Nintendo first party games.
cool.
Instead of it costing that much, we're only paying about 70, I think, for Mario Kart if it's when it's bundled in with a Switch too.
Oh, that actually is really good. No, that's definitely like something that will sway my opinion. I won't lie about that. It is one of those things to me where it's like, oh, I was gonna say that as well. That feature of like the chatting and everything that sort of also adds to a lot of it being a social kids sort of thing. And admittedly, I guess it's one of those things for me where it's like I don't want the little man to miss out. I don't want
Yeah,
him to like sort of like it is something that I think I would be more accepting of as opposed to a lot of other stuff that's out there that
and
is
and
meant to be kid safe. Where I think this one will be probably more vetted to be kid safe.
yeah, and then don't forget,
But
just there they had a quick glimpse of the parental controls. They're actually really good. I've had to play with the app before,
oh
just
yeah,
if you
yeah,
had a curiosity. They're excellent. So you can like according to this too, when you do your chat thing, you have to have obviously the friends code of someone. So they're still doing that system, which is a bit backwards, but it works for safety and security. But you
I
have to,
prefer that.
yeah, exactly. As a parent, of course you would. So you have to get the friends code, but then you also have to have the parent, especially if the parents got the parental locks, is they have to approve people to see your camera and you do your voice chat. So you can't just like willy nilly jump on and start chatting. They have to approve it just for the first time, I think, and then
Oh,
you're good
that's
to go.
fantastic.
So that's another way of being safe. So if he's got his mates at school and they start wanting to play, you can go in there and vet it first before you give them the okay.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant, and I would rather that as well. I mean, and yeah, like the app, I've already got that on the current Switch, and I do sort of watch that and everything. And I guess, look, what I am hoping for is that the current sort of I guess controllers do work with the new one. I think that is the
Oh,
case.
they
That
do. Yeah, they've confirmed. I don't
the
think they don't click on, of course, but all the previous stuff that you bought from the first Switch, everything works, including the Pro controller and
oh, that's
a
brilliant.
lot of the attachments and that. So I was music to my ears because again, they're charging premium prices for the Joy Cons. So
Mhm.
having said that, I'm probably going to pick up another Pro controller because the new one's got apparently really nice satin finish on the back end, and I'm like, oh, I kind of
Ooh,
like I bought a PlayStation 5. I got a gift card at work, so I bought a PS5 controller. Oh my god,
oh,
fantastic! Yeah, it's so good. I'm a
I
sucker for
mean,
really good controllers.
well, like I said, I mean, I'm glad that PlayStation is following in I guess Xbox's sort
Definitely.
of
Yeah.
mentality, because the fact of the matter is, and I do say this kindly, is I will probably not get another PlayStation console. I
Yeah,
think
same.
3 was the last one I've had, and again, just because I don't see much benefit in getting it, although I do miss playing with the controller and the new controller, because my brother has one of the new consoles, I think 5, um, is the fact that I do like the feel of it. Like, and the fact that, I could probably use it on the PC for a lot of things. Quite
Yeah.
frankly, I will probably get another. I would rather buy the PS5 controller to use on my PC, and I'll be
Yeah,
happy to
and
pay full price for that.
remember, I think pretty sure you can use it on the Switch because it's Bluetooth. So I haven't tried it yet, but
Oh, fantastic!
someone was talking about in the podcast today I was listening to, and they said that they liked the Pro controller, what they felt of, but they said that they're just going to end up using that. They bought one of those the Dual Sense. So I was like, when I knew that, I was like, oh my god, I didn't realize that. So I'm going to have to give that a go at some point. But yeah, just a side note so I got the PS5. Yeah, I think it's called the Dual Sense, the one that comes with the standard PlayStation. It's got those
Mm.
haptic triggers, so it's got like the changes force depending on what you're doing. I played through Spider-Man 2 recently on PC, and it's awesome, mate. It's I wouldn't say it's quite a game
Mhm.
changer, but it's so satisfying. Like you got little mini games where you got to line up the guides on the screen using the triggers, and it's got like they weighted like it changes, so it adapts to whatever you're doing. So typically they're loose, but then certain mini games and actions you do, they go weighted and they rumble, and that it feels so cool.
That is fantastic. No, that's brilliant. That is genuinely brilliant.
Uh,
Yeah, look, I'm gonna say is, yeah, watch this space. I guess is yeah. There is a high possibility on them getting it. Again, I will use this the same way I've used my Switch console. And I've used it as a console as opposed to a portable
handheld.
device.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Again, my concern has always been with the fact that I know that the docks on these things aren't as robust as I would like them to be.
Mm.
So, and I've said to the little man, I've said, hey, listen, you've got this big
Got to
screen.
go easy
I
on
mean,
it.
I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
yeah, go easy. I'm not gonna stop you from playing on the big screen. Go play.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's got the ability to do that, and yeah, we use it more as a family console. Um,
Just
so
call
yeah,
just call out if you have any
yeah.
interruptions because I'm not actually checking the chat, by the way.
Oh no, that's all good. I shall.
Yeah. But yeah,
um, I
for
was
me,
gonna,
it's so like I actually ended up playing. I think when I first got the Switch One, I played quite a bit on the telly, but I noticed like quite a few performance drops, particularly with like Breath of the Wild and some of those areas. Which I cannot wait. I will be a sucker and pay for the upgrade for these ones on Switch 2 because it looks gorgeous. But the performance wasn't great on on the telly, and I've got a 4K telly. So I've spent most of my time in handheld. I reckon it's gonna be the opposite for this one because now it does 4K support. It's using NVIDIA DLSS, so we should see some improvements there. And people were saying
oh
they were
really?
playing. Yeah, people were saying that was confusing because I think what they did for the demonstration of Metroid Prime 4. They had it on the TV, but they had it in 4K mode, 60 frames per second. So that apparently was super smooth, but that can actually do 120 frames per second on 1080p on the handheld. So it'd be interesting to see the differences there. I don't think it'll be massive, but it'd be interesting. And that's my only question mark is playing on this. Is the beauty of that is I think is you can actually drop it down to 1440p, which is the compromise for me. If I can get things running smoother on 1440p on that big TV, I'll probably still end up playing most of the time it on the TV, which is good.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Look, with that regard, I'm willing to make those sacrifices. I say sacrifices, but compromises is really the
Yeah.
more appropriate word. Yeah, I'm willing to do that. I mean, again, 4K, you know, at a lock 60 would be amazing, would be fantastic, would be, the dream. But again, I'm not going to lose much from, 1440.
No, and I mean the new 1080p screen because like we've both got premium handhelds with the Legion Go and the Steam Deck
Mm.
is you can see in that higher resolution and how much better it looks. I mean this Switch is doing more than I don't know. Maybe yours a 1080p screen or do you run it in 1080p on the Go on the Legion
Yes,
Go?
yeah, because again, I normally do. Let me confirm.
Because yeah, the Steam Deck goes. I think it can. I have to double check, but it's typically running at 800. So it's not at full. Yeah, I'm not running at full 1080p on that. I don't think I could be wrong there, but what my point being is I think you're either on par or even better on the Switch 2, which is going to be impressive to see on the screen. But yeah, the other thing to talk about I think is that the mouse. Well, this
Mhm.
actually what we've got on the screen right now is an absolute joke. This I thought this was clever. This little app says is the Switch 2
Yep, yep.
welcome tour. I thought that's a great way of showcasing the features on your device. So these little mini games looks great. And then at the end of this trailer, it pops up that it's a paid digital download. I thought, Nintendo, what the hell are you doing? Like, why would you make people pay for
Actually,
this? That's ridiculous.
that I agree. I agree with you on that. That
Yeah.
is, and again, hence, I guess it was one of the factors as well that sort of put me off was this is your this sort of introductory, I guess, game app, whatever you want to call it, and you're making people pay for it. Like
Yeah.
Wii Sports came free bundled with it.
Yep.
I
Uh,
mean,
and then the Steam Deck comes with its own welcome tour thing. The Steam VR does its
mhm.
welcome thing when you get the headset, and it's I don't know if Astro's Playroom and PlayStation 5 did. I don't know if that was free, but I know that yeah, it's annoyed a lot of people. It's just a very silly thing to do. So hopefully they change their mind. But anyway, that's dumb. But yeah, the other one I wanted to talk about was the mouse mode, which I'm curious. Like, I think form factor it is going to be a little bit awkward. So one of the people on the
Mhm.
podcast said if you take your current Switch One Joy Cons and put it down like you do a mouse, you pretty much get that same experience and same feel as you get with the new Joy Cons. They're very similar size. And yeah, it does feel a little bit awkward, and especially for someone who has got bigger hands like yourself, for example. You've mentioned that's why you prefer
Mm.
the Legion Go with the bigger grips. I think it's probably going to be a
Yeah,
bit
yeah.
awkward. The good news is we'll definitely get third party suppliers that will provide some sort of a shell that you can put it into, which would be all right, but shouldn't have to. But I'm still excited to see it. Everyone that's been talking about using mouse mode for Metroid Prime 4 said it's almost like the default go-to control scheme. So I'm super excited to try that out.
Yeah, so am I on this. I mean, like I said, the Legion Go tends to have a kind of like a weird mouse trigger mode thing. Um, so I'm glad that that's sort of being incorporated because, admittedly, it opens up I guess it opens up the actual gaming experience to be able to play a newer genre of games. Like I would love to see the comeback of more point and click games because some of them could just be fun, and I think kids would get a lot of fun and enjoyment out of it, just out of the silly sort of nature of the gameplay, sort of like Monkey Island, all those old LucasArts games, but I guess aimed for more kids, but as well as games like I guess Pokemon Snap style games where I think a mouse would be more accurate and convenient.
Yeah,
So yeah, I would like to see what comes of it. I'm hoping a different genre of, or rather an old genre of games like point and click stuff, maybe some RTS stuff
And then
would be nice to see.
stuff like this too, like this drag and drive that they've got is similar to like the tech demo-y, kind of like Arms
Yes,
was
yes.
for the first Switch, but it this looks cool. Like I love Rocket League. I've still play that to this day. And this looks like that. There's actually a mode in Rocket League where it's basketball basically, but this looks like it's right up my alley. For how good it will go, I'm not sure. Like some people talked about it when they were doing it at the event. They did mention it gets a bit tiresome having to, you're constantly using, you're using it basically like a wheelchair. So you're doing the motion to move forward with your wheels, and you do your left wheel to turn right and vice versa. But it still looks like it'll be a bit of fun. So I'm curious. I
Yeah.
don't know what the cost. Like if it's ridiculous, I probably won't bother. But if it's if it's in that $20 to $30 range, I'll probably pick it up and give it a go. But that's a kind of it's always funny with these because it's Nintendo do great with showing off what it's capable of, but it never really goes any further. Like even Nintendo themselves might put it in some of their games, but they don't get the full experience. And because this is effectively locked into this console, I don't think we're going to see too many third party options. More like add-ons, like with Metroid Prime 4. It's a first-person shooter, but it behaves like a point and click. And I guess when you talked about that in terms of like you got lock on with the controls, but now having the mouse mode option turning into a traditional first person shooter really opens up the avenue for other developers to include that in the game. Like, for example, of course, something like Call of Duty coming to the console, then you can actually play it as a first person shooter rather than the sticks. So it'd be
Yeah,
interesting to see what
it
people
would
do.
be brilliant. And yeah, I just hope they don't do what they did with sort of the early Wii stuff, where it's like you're forced to use something, even
Oh,
though
yeah.
you
No
don't
doubt
want to
there.
use it. Yeah, like oh yeah, look, again, part of the PS Vita as well, which like some of the games touchscreen. Like, why is it touchscreen? It shouldn't be touchscreen. It doesn't need to be
Yeah.
touchscreen.
Yeah.
Um,
But
so
did you see actually
yeah,
how the mouse mode works? Like you can actually, instead of having,
yeah,
you don't have to go into a menu. You just literally turn the Joy-Con sideways, and then when you're done, you turn it back over, and it does it instantly. That's pretty cool.
yes, which is brilliant. I think it's fantastic. Um, yeah, it again, it really they've really thought this through. There's a lot of leaps and bounds with the new console. I think it's going to be fantastic. I genuinely do. It's got so much potential to do so many things. Um, I'll be curious. I'll be curious to see how they handle all of the, I guess, legacy stuff. A lot of the sort of Switch stuff. If
Yes.
Because again, Nintendo has not been great of it in the past. Like there's apparently a lot of NES and SNES and apparently Game Boy Color games that are still missing from like the Nintendo Store and everything else.
Oh, I
So
see
I'd be
what you mean.
curious to find,
Yeah.
yeah, but so
Well,
and yeah,
yeah, for me, I'm glad to see there's actually, you can go on the Nintendo website and look at the compatibility list. So it is pretty much, it's like, I'd say 99% compatible with the Switch 1 games. My question is are there any performance improvements? I could imagine loading, yes, because you've got that, the faster, internals in the system and the game cards and what have you like that, with the hard drive in the console. But do you get any sort of benefit with any sort of upscaling? Because that would be, I'm guessing not, because if they're releasing the Switch 2 editions of like, the Zelda games and then Mario Party and Kirby and the Forgotten Land, it's I don't think they will, but I kind of hope so because it'd just be great. It means I can go back and play. Like I've got Metroid Dread still to play. I haven't played it yet. That's going to be on my list to do soon, but I'm going to probably wait for the Switch 2 and play it on that and see if there's any sort of an improvement. And that already runs really well on the Switch, but just curious anyway. I'd like to see what that actually looks like.
I would hope so. I would hope so because yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, again, not to sound like a broken record, but yeah, what 2017? Yeah, it's been what? 2017. When did the original Switch
Yeah,
release?
it's
17 or
2017. Yeah, yeah. So it's been 8 years,
17?
is it?
Yeah, 8 years. I was gonna say 8 years then. Yeah. So it's been 8 years since the release of the original console. The last thing, and I've invested. Well, not only me, I guess. Geez, it's people have invested so much in the console. It would
Yeah.
be they'd be remiss to sort of be like, right, it's a new console. Forget everything about the old one. Because yeah, I mean, you can go ahead and buy the new console and everything and then start again. But the fact that if they're able to bring it back, like PlayStation's been doing this for years. Like I think PlayStation 2
Yeah.
used to play PlayStation 1 games, and it's an up. It feels more of an upgrade as opposed to a reboot of having to buy a whole new console and get a whole new library, and you're sort of accumulating.
Mm.
And the whole idea, especially now, I guess in our newer generations, where we're so conscious of like how much we accumulate and how much we don't want to be sort of stockpiling stuff, sort of thing. So yeah, I hope that the new what's I was going to say, the new Switch 2 does have backward compatibility for a lot more than what they're currently saying, and they bring a lot more of the retro stuff back. It would be so cool. It would
Well,
be
yeah. To be
genuinely
clear,
so
like, yeah, I'm what we've got. I'm happy with. Like, I can now looking at that compatibility list. There's only stuff like Labo, some of those things that need some of the Switch One specific accessories that aren't compatible. But I don't have any of that. I looked at the list. It's like it's a very small list. I'm like, oh, okay, none of those. I don't really
Oh,
care because I
brilliant.
don't play them. But so as in from a baseline, I'm awesome. This is the first console in years where they've gone direct compatibility. I can take out one of the cards from mine, chuck it in. Or actually, I need to confirm that. I'm not sure if it does because I did have a whole bit at the start of this around the different style of cartridges. But I know what you can do is if you've got it connected to your Nintendo account, you can just digitally download it. So they've got these virtual game cards they announced the Direct the week before the Switch 2 Direct. So that's doable and that's fine. But and then you've still got the Switch Online. So all of that other previous stuff they've released
That's
is there.
brilliant.
So it checks all the boxes, no worries. I mean, I'm probably being a little bit more petty and going, are there any more advancements, like any more that you can get me across the line to go, this is an absolute must buy? At the moment, it is for me because they've got me on Mario Kart pretty much alone. And plus the backwards compatibility. But for me, if I was umming and ahhing, especially about the screen, but if they went, there's improvements to the Switch One games. If you plug it in, I'm like, okay, sold. That's got me. But yeah, irrelevant now for
Well,
me because I've pre-ordered it. But yeah,
from what I've heard is that Nintendo will do a sort of I guess not a remaster is necessarily it, but I guess an upscale or whatever you want to really call it, of a lot of the older games is potentially what they're planning to do. Sort of so it can really take advantage of the new hardware. That being said, is will you need to pay full price or will it just be a partial price for the upgrade? Then yeah, maybe not.
well,
Because
is this
I feel
outside of the
sort of
ones they've announced already? Because like with the two Zelda games, you have to pay there's something like a $10 to $20 price to get like if you've got the originals on your Switch, then and you're on your account, it's only a $10 to $20 upgrade. Whereas this is in the States, they're $80 brand new. They're Switch 2
yeah,
editions, so
yeah.
they are what you mentioned. But are you talking more about complete remasters?
No, no, not complete remasters. I think partial. So maybe perhaps the same thing we're discussing. I heard
Yeah,
that a few other really the more what's the word I'm looking for here? The more
dated.
uh, 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 no, 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 no. The more I guess better selling games on the Switch will probably get a lot of
Right.
that treatment.
Yeah, like
Yeah, yeah. Sort of the
Odyssey. Is Odyssey going to get that?
yes, yeah. Will Odyssey get it? Will I guess what's the other one as well?
Well, it won't be Mario Kart
Geez,
8. I'm presuming they're not going to do. They wouldn't be stupid enough to do
no,
that
no, no,
with the new one coming out. Um,
no. The Mario
Wonder.
Party
Oh,
Jamboree, I think it
yeah.
is.
So yeah. So there's a Switch 2 enhanced edition for Jamboree, but it also comes with. I didn't look at it because I'm not a huge Mario Party fan, just because I have no one to play with. But there's something called like Bowser TV or Mario TV or Jamboree TV, it's something like that. So they've got a new addition to it. Plus they've got more mini
Oh, okay.
games that focus on the mouse controls. So
Oh, cool.
so there is bonus, and the other one for Kirby and the Forgotten Land is actually DLC that comes with that. So they never released DLC for that game, but this new edition is kind of like Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury, like they released on the Switch. They're doing a new version basically for the Switch 2 with the new Kirby game. So they're happening.
That's brilliant. That's not actually bad. That's actually
Yeah,
really good.
and I'm probably going to pick it up because I actually missed. I skipped Forgotten Land. Just I don't know why. I just never got around to it. But I'm probably going to pick it up now with that DLC because that sounds pretty cool. I just
Well,
wanted to pause on this because this is a real baby laugh out loud when I saw it. Because yeah, as you know, the internet is absolutely chomping at the bit to get Hollow Knight Silk Song and even just get a slither of information because it's been years since they've had anything. And then what happened? Nintendo put it in this little sizzle reel, and it's like 5 seconds worth of footage. It just says 2025. I just thought that was hilarious. So
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. That
poor
is
Silksong
genuinely
fans.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, "Hey guys."
Now this
Um,
game, did you see the trailer for this one?
have a look, see. No, I didn't get a chance.
So we'll carry through. But who do you think? What do you think, just based off what you're seeing? Who would be developing this? What sort of a game would this be? You'll find it
Ooh,
in a couple of seconds who it is. But this one
a
shocked.
Bayonetta or
Yeah.
Resident
Okay.
Evil
Well,
thing.
watch this.
Ooh, okay. All
New
right.
IP, it's a new
You've
IP
piqued my
from
interest.
Software. So blew everybody. People when I was watching a lot of the reactions, they're like, "Is this Bloodborne 2?" Because it's been kind of again rumored like Sony own Bloodborne
It
2.
is, it's
Bloodborne.
giving Bloodborne vibes, yeah.
Right, yeah. And then as the trailer went on, a lot of the people that are big Bloodborne fans are like, oh, I actually think this is something new. And so it turns out it's called the Duskbloods, and it's a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive. So, oh my god, that blew my mind hearing that because I never in 1,000 years would have thought that Nintendo are publishing this, by the way. So they've gone in partnership with From Software, which blows my mind because they're always Nintendo, as we talked about before, a very kid centric business. And then they've done
Yes,
this,
yes.
and they're like, "What a get to get!" Like the next From Software game, the little asterisk here is it's a PvPvE game, so it's a multiplayer game,
Right,
which is
yes.
called the jets of a lot of people, including myself. I probably won't pick it up because I'm not really interested in that kind of an experience,
Mm,
except for
neither am I.
well, it depends on how much of it is like that. Like if it's still a lot of single player elements and you can choose only just to fight the enemies rather than people, I'll probably pick it up. But
Mhm.
frog titties. But um, but
Busty
yeah,
Frog?
yeah. So the thing for me was just it blew my mind seeing that logo pop up and imagine everybody in these reaction streams were just like, "What the hell is going on?" Like, who would have expected From Software, and not to mention the output from Software. Like something like the last 6 years, they've been absolutely knocking it out of the park with every single game they've been releasing, and here
Oh,
they go again.
absolutely.
So it was really good. I thought you'd like it because it's being From Software. It's pretty cool to see.
That it is really. I'm liking this dinosaur transformation. That looks really cool.
Yeah,
I
I mean
mean,
it's very Dark Souls, Demon
it
Souls,
is
all that. It's
Bloodborne. Yeah, it's very, very soulsy. I was gonna say, okay, I don't mean to be petty. It does look like, you know, HD PS3 graphics, PS4 graphics.
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, so the
I
backstory to
mean,
this. So Miyazaki
not to be
released.
nitpicky.
Yeah, that's fine. No, I think it's valid.
Yeah.
And the side story to this is Miyazaki had Nintendo had released a statement from Miyazaki or like an interview, and he basically said this was actually in development for Switch One and was planned to be released for Switch One, and Nintendo requested he hold off for the Switch Two. So that gives you an understanding why it looks a little bit dated because it was developed on the Switch One hardware. So
Right.
you'll get natural improvements like frame rate and what have you, but it's not going to be the prettiest looking game compared to their other games. But heck, you get that, and Elden Ring's been released on the Switch too.
Yes, I
So
did see that. I saw that earlier.
that blew my mind. Like
Yeah.
that's just it's a very different. That shows you the little bit more of the maturer side of Nintendo. It's like okay, so maybe they are aware of some of their adult players too. But there you go.
Yeah, no, which is awesome. I love how they have the right. This is our core market. This is the core market we're gonna, focus on. But we haven't forgotten, that they are adult players. People who perhaps want to play those other games. And I don't necessarily see it as them stealing from other necessarily markets, as it were, or
No.
other rivals. It's
Mm.
more of a right. They understand that people just want to have one, and the fact that you can do this on the go,
Yes, and
like you
that's
can play Elden Ring on the go,
you've got to underline
is
that point because like even you and I playing on the Legion and on the Steam Deck, I was playing a game before where it asked me, do I want to play in 32-bit or 64-bit mode? I'm like, this would not be good for general consumers. They don't know what the hell that means. I still have to tinker with my Steam Deck because I've played with
oh,
PCs. I know what
I
I'm
got to do with
doing.
Legion Go.
Hey,
I got to do the same with Legion Go. I
yeah,
absolutely get exactly what you're
exactly.
coming from.
So then back to your point was this, you don't need to. You just pick it up and it works.
Hmm.
So like, why not have
Yep.
Elden Ring on the go? It's incredible.
Yeah. No, exactly right. Exactly right. I mean, because you as to I guess bolster your point there. You're right. we've been in the industry. I mean, we've grown up with PCs, and again, we kind of live it day to day. But there are times, I admit, I don't want to fiddle around with something. I just kind of
Yeah,
want to sit down and play it.
I
I
feel
don't want
that.
to. Yep. And and I'm willing for there to be a compromise where you know there are limitations. There are sort of things that are maybe I'm locked into a 30 FPS. Maybe it's only 1080p, whatever the case may
Or
be.
modding or yeah, whatever we're
Yeah, yeah,
doing.
well, yeah, which is I'm like I'm fine. Whereas I can do it on the Legion Go. It's pretty powerful, and be ultra everything. But I'm only playing for an hour.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
and you
most of
want
the
to
time,
save
sure,
that
that's
time. I mean, man, I feel that. Side note, talk about the sim rig and VR. My God, the amount of tinkering and patience you have to have for that. I feel like probably
hmm.
60% of my gaming on that is figuring out how to get the damn thing working, and then the 40% I'm like I'm too stuffed, so I only play it for half an hour. I'm like, oh, I'm done, and then I repeat the process next time I'm on it. I'm like, yeah, there's no reason, I'm completely not surprised why people haven't flocked to a VR because it's just so much stuffing around. So having a console like this is just yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Well, I will come back to that in a moment, but because it is up, this actually surprised me.
Oh,
This looks
yeah. What do
really
you think?
awesome. Well, yeah, like I did say off I guess off stream or
Yeah,
off the
before.
call
Yeah.
is before this reminds me, and I love how Nintendo's embracing it of the Kirby Forgotten World sort of series where it's sort of this third person over the shoulder almost level oriented, but within the level open world, I guess level
Yep.
Mario Odyssey style gameplay, which is fantastic. Which again, like you said earlier about about being smashing, and it's not necessarily a side scroller, but enjoyable fun. This is just I'm going to sit down in front of the screen and just smash away and have
Yeah.
fun at this,
Yep.
and you know what? Fantastic. Sometimes you don't need a story heavy, you know, lore heavy open world game where you're just, you know, backtracking, having to, discover every inch of the world sort of gameplay. It's something which is just right, I have to get to the goal at the end of the level
Go pick up
and,
stuff and
this pick up
yeah.
stuff and smash my way through things and this looks fun. Love it.
Yeah,
That's it.
it's that's same. I echo everything you say there, and it goes back to my point on why I love Nintendo games. They find a mechanic, they focus on it. So the core mechanic here is smashing stuff. That's it. So yes, you've got your typical platforming tropes, you're jumping, you're climbing, and what have you. But this clearly the core mechanic in this game is smashing stuff. So I'll actually, while that's going, I'll load up the. I was watching some Nintendo Treehouse have. Sorry, I'm typing. Can't do two things at the same time. They have loaded up a no, that's not there. What's it called? Treehouse. They've done So Nintendo Treehouse have done basically they play the games. This search, I've got to just say as a side note, so we're using Watch together, and it seems to have like outdated or really poor searching capabilities. The thing that sucks is I can't jump out of this because it'll muck up what's going on the stream. So I'll just keep trying search terms till I get what I need. But just watching that, I filled me with joy because it's like this is right up my alley. It's just that and that's that type of Mario Odyssey open world free roaming sort of play sandbox, and you just go around smashing stuff. So yeah, for
Absolutely. It calls back to the Banjo-Kazooie's, Crash Bandicoots style, fun, goofy, cartoony gameplay, which again, again, this is sort of the core memories that my little man can enjoy and something I can pick up and go, you know what, I just want to go back to being a kid again for a few hours and just smash everything up as a sort of demented looking gorilla. Um, so yeah, absolutely love this. I absolutely love the gameplay of it. The look of it. It just looks fun. It looks like
yeah,
good kid fun.
not much more you can
And
say other
yeah,
than that. Yeah.
no,
Um.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Well,
mhm.
was there anything else on the that you saw or comments to make on the Switch too?
On the Switch 2 itself, like I said, not really. Look, it's a fantastic console. Quite frankly, there's a lot about it I love. and a lot about it I like. And there are a few questionable things, like I guess you have with anything. And now, especially that you're older and you're the one paying for the console, there's a lot of sort of, I want investment for my purchase. Sorry, rather, value for my purchase here, which is, again, like I said, which obviously Nintendo are aware of. Like I said, with the little tabs, with compatibility of, backwards compatibility, really, the um
Remarks.
the I guess the life cycle of this, perhaps not being like a Wii U or a Vita style thing where they came out and had such great potential, but really didn't you know amount to much. Unfortunately, in the end, because they moved on too quickly. So I'm hoping that the Switch 2 is here to stay for a while, just like its predecessor. Aside from
Like,
that, no, yeah.
Actually, just on that, I will say that you make an interesting point about it, longevity. That in any other day, prior to what's happened recently, I'd say, yeah, it's around for the long haul. I mean, Nintendo, I think, have learned a lot of their mistakes from the Wii U, and that obviously shows clear in the naming of this. They didn't go with like Super Nintendo Switch, which would have been cool, but they didn't call it the Switch U or
Oh,
any
that would
other
be so
crazy
cool.
name. They just stuck with Switch 2. So it's much easier for consumers, especially parents, that the kid are going, "Oh, the new Nintendo." Like, what is it? The Switch? No, the Switch 2. Oh, 2. Yeah, okay, it's a new one. So that makes sense from a marketing
Mm,
perspective. But the big news out of America recently is the tariffs that the Trump administration have put on now on the other countries,
yes.
and that includes Vietnam and China, where the Switch is being mass produced. And there's so Nintendo. I don't know if you heard. So they purposely didn't announce the price during the presentation. They announced it afterwards in a press release, and it's retailing in the states for, I think it's 450 US dollars. So it works out. I paid for mine. It was $770, but that includes, that's the Mario Kart bundle. So in Australian
Hmm.
dollars. Still, I'm a little unclear if it's going to affect the pricing. Like I'm half, I should hope JB are pretty good with their prices, so I went with JB Hi-Fi, and I should have that locked in. I don't think the tariffs will impact us much, but for the American public, those poor buggers are probably. Nintendo have announced that they're putting a freeze on the pre-orders, which was meant to happen on the April the 9th, and they're going to announce pricing, potentially an adjustment to the pricing later. This is all depending on what's going to go on with these tariffs. So we're having a little bit of a fallout period at the moment where all the global markets are reacting, and the other trade
Hmm.
partners are reacting, and they're not happy, as you can understand. Um, there's people are saying like Trump's very hard to predict, and there's a potential he's just using this as a bargaining chip and like a wake up call, and he might actually rescind a lot of the tariffs, which is still a possibility between now and the release. But if we take it as face value as what we see now, there's a really good chance that this is. They was listening to one podcast, and they said this is probably going to go up maybe 200 to 300 US dollars in price, and that is insane. So that's going to be like, if you go to 300, that's going to be what? So 450, so 750 USD. So that's probably somewhere around about $1,200 Australian just for the console alone, and that. So that, talking about that longevity, there might be a, it might actually struggle to pick up,
Mm.
especially in this first year of release. And we might actually have it not do as well as the Switch One. I mean, Switch One's already hard because it's the best selling. Uh, it's probably not as best selling as Wii. I think the Wii may have outsold it, but still, it's beat both the PlayStation and
It is.
Xbox. But yeah, so back to your point, there's a good chance that we may actually see this drop off because of the biggest market, arguably in the world, is America for this product, and people might not pick it up just because of the cost of living and the tariffs. So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, look, and again, just a reminder to everyone listening. Again, we try to avoid politics on this just because it is so varied, and you know what? At the end of the day, we're just tax-paying, you know, peons, really. So,
Mm.
I mean, yeah, but everything you said, I agree with. I mean, I really feel for and again, uniting everyone from around the world under the geek game banner.
Yeah,
I feel for all our brothers and sisters
in America.
out
Yeah,
there in who are affected by these tariffs in
yeah,
the U.S. who just want a game, who really don't care about the politics of what the politicians are doing. That all they want to do is be able to enjoy um well-made games, and it really is backwards. I feel so bad for them, because how long have we fought to get so many different games from other cultures, and again, and really unify everyone under banners of like storytelling of experiences. um yeah, it will be very, it will be a horrible thing, and I hope that all the other worldwide markets are able to sort of make up for whatever is happening in the US. I mean, again, and hopefully, you know, US geeks and gamers are able to sort of, I guess, find a way around these tariffs and hopefully get the console, even if it is, you know, through a more indirect manner, as in through foreign markets. I really do, because yeah, for me, it's one of those things where I don't want sort of other members of the geek and gaming community to miss out on, you know, this amazing potential, um I guess, platform
Mm,
for storytelling and experiences. And like I said, I mean, honestly,
yeah.
we
Well,
live in such a y- yeah, we live in such
yes.
a worldwide market.
Yeah. Well said,
It
man. It's
thank
yeah,
you.
it's tough. Let's hope it turns out the best for them. But for us, I don't think it's going to impact us too much. Price wise, like the
Mm.
you know, there's all that talk about inflation and what have you, and games have relatively uh, been separate to that. But obviously, we saw the introduction of, I think, Tears of the Kingdom was $110 when that came out. That was the first of that in the states. They called it the $70 game. That was the first time they did that, and um, not all. Well, yeah, some of the big players like EA and Ubisoft and whatnot have followed suit, and it's going to be. It was always waiting on the first person to do that, and Nintendo were the first big ones to do that, and they're doing that here as well. Now
Mm.
it's gone up again in terms of games, so
Yeah.
let alone the console. So if we just talk about the games, as they're going to be pricey as well. But it kind of sounds like a cop out when I do say, you know, well, that, you know, we've been away from that, and but it's kind of the truth. Like if you look at it compared to a lot of other commodities, like a good example I was thinking about today was ticket prices to the movies. So, you know, we've talked about this before. I just generally don't go to the movies
Yes.
anymore because I'm not paying $30 or whatever it is, where it used to be 14 or 10 or whatever it was. And but they've adjusted with the markets, and particular obviously with the streaming coming on, they've had to adjust with that anyway. But games have largely been untouched until now, and we're going to see a new way forward. And you know, for people like you
Yeah.
and I with other means of getting games and using our systems, it's not so bad. But I'm going to be paying for full price for these, and we know Nintendo games don't drop in price; they rarely have sales.
Yes.
And I mean, I'll be buying them because I know my money is going to be well spent with these games, because it's again, like I said at the start of this, is that's why I get a Nintendo console every generation, because it's the games I want to play. So yeah, it's a tough one,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Well,
be interesting.
I guess on that, and again, it and again, I know, and it's not to isolate any of our younger, I guess, listeners in this regard, but you know, it harps back to the 80s and 90s, where, you know, you did only get one console. There was none of this, you know, I've got all the consoles. And if you knew a kid who got all the consoles, he was either one, lying, or two, he was really rich, really rich. And and yeah, it was a matter of like, right, you're getting a game either for your birthday or Christmas, and that was it. And you played the crap out of that game for months on end. And really, that's what sort of, I guess, made a lot of us, I guess, early gamers really good at stuff like the, you know, arcades of the 80s. You would literally, you know, they would eat your coins, you know,
Hi, everyone.
and you
For
would
those
just have to get better at it. You would get better at these games because through repetition and practice. So a lot of the way I'm seeing this is we are sort of coming back to a lot of that, because yeah, I've got a little one, and as much as I would love to buy a lot of those games, there'd have to be either a special occasion, either at birthdays or Christmas, or, you know, maybe one or two throughout the year.
Mm,
But that would be it.
yep.
uh it's sort of going back to that, I guess, as opposed to sort of bulk buying, and then I guess waiting for specials. And like you said, unfortunately, Nintendo games don't go down in price, but
Yeah.
I can't justify buying a brand new game when if I can get it for half price, especially if, you know, um it is taken care of, and, you know, or getting a digital version for half price, or whatever the case may be. um, yeah, with like regards to the movies and stuff like that, it is one of those things where I guess the reason they're trying to make up their losses is because the fact of the matter is, for quite some time, especially the early 2020s, we've had some pretty crap movies. And really, I mean, can you justify spending $40 going to the movies and watching something that you really want to walk out halfway through? Or, you walk out going, why did I just waste $40 on this?
Suppose
When
that
you can sort of,
yeah, that's a
yeah,
good sorry, yeah, that's a good segue, I think, to the Minecraft movie. Are you gonna go take a little man to see the Minecraft movie?
Um, it is one of those things where we're thinking, yeah, we might, or we might just wait for it to come out. And like on one of the services, maybe pay for it. But the more I've been looking into it, it's grown a little bit more endearing. Everyone's sort of been saying, is you know why have they chosen to go with live actions and not sort of almost a 3D rendition of characters, which I can see both sides of the argument. I'm curious to find out what it is going to be about.
Of
I can already tell you there's going to be a sequel.
oh yeah, this thing will
It
sell.
is so
My bet this will
yeah.
outsell the Mario movie.
I would be interested to find out. I'll be interested to find out genuinely if it will. Like because the Mario movie, it was such a basic story, and this has so many gimmicks. This has so many gimmicky things that I like. Again, there's a lot of 4chan stuff that sort of goes. I can tell you already what's going to happen, and they talk about how there's going to be a like a groin shot, someone farting, like the main black female character saying something only
What you
typical
talk
black
about?
female characters say. Yeah, what you talk about, Willis? That sort of thing. And and Jack Black's gonna do some sort of Jack Blacky thing where he's
Oh
gonna
yeah,
say something like, Redstone in a Jack Black voice, and everybody will laugh because it's funny because he's saying it.
Redstone.
Yeah, and it's like Jack Black sort of thing. And
Jack Black is
it,
Jack Black as Steve.
so exactly right. Like the same thing is everyone going, or rather, what I tell people is like, oh yes, Samuel Jackson is Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury. That's all it is. He's Samuel Jackson in an eye patch. That's all it is. Um,
Yeah.
so it will be something that I don't think I can get out of and say I'm not going to watch. It will probably be somewhere something I'm gonna watch, especially with a little man. They'll be interested to see. Um, eh, Again, now the question is, do we go watch it in the cinema or do we actually, wait for a while and have it come out?
Yeah.
This is interesting. I was
Oh,
gonna say
this
this is
is
interesting.
what's that?
Inside Job. I would like to find out what they're doing with that because I actually watched all 3 seasons and quite enjoyed that show quite a lot.
Oh, there you go. There's a show you watched. Not recently, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I don't know anything about
okay,
it.
okay.
What
Well, I
is
was
it?
gonna say, going back a bit, going back
Oh,
if
yeah.
you can a little bit on that. It was there was this thing on Greece, the something girls. I can't remember the name of the pink ladies. There we go. One, I'm not a Grease fan. I've never been. I've seen the movie so many times. It was one of those things where, again, I don't get it. Um, this is something that bugs me, and I'm gonna have a little bit. Sorry, before we sign off, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna have a bit of a whinge and whine
Go
here.
for it. This is the venting portion of the show.
One of the things that I've always sort of bugged me a bit is, and again, I say half as a storyteller, half as somebody who enjoys stories, is not everything needs an explanation. Like when I was young, I would always wondered when people would say that. Why did it, like for example, like you know the typical one is the oh Millennium Falcon doing the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah, 12. Yeah, I think
Um,
you're right.
yeah, is we never needed to see that, and the same
Yeah.
as this sort of thing with Grease and the Pink Ladies. It's kind of self-explanatory.
Oh,
It's
that's a
in the
movie. Oh,
movie.
gotcha. I didn't know that. Oh, I wasn't sure what
Yeah,
you're talking about. Okay. Yeah, gotcha.
yeah, yeah. Like Grease in the movie, you see the Pink Ladies. Like
Or Mufasa.
you can't. Yeah, or Mufasa. Do you need to know all these backstories?
Spoiler.
Sometimes
No.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't, and I freaking hate. I hate it. It's like Scorsese said, or I can't remember if it was Scorsese or someone else said, like, have you literally has Hollywood literally run out of ideas that they need to rehash everything? Like that Lilo and Stitch film that looks horrible.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I
I
mean,
will send you this video because it's a good one. It's talking about what you're saying at the moment. It's these guys are very dry, sarcastic sort of humor, and they do this whole video. It's called like the punchline is "What are next?" and it's talking about how basically what you're saying is modern Hollywood just looks for recognizable IPs. They do sequels or prequels constantly. There's no new innovation in the movies, and it's been like that for a while. I switch off from it all. Honestly, I just don't care anymore. I
neither
listen
do
like
I. I mean,
these guys are pretty good with movie reviews because I'll give you some good tips. But a lot of them they like their horror, which I'm not into as much. But yeah, no, go on. Didn't mean to break.
no, and no, dude.
Yeah,
I was saying no. It is one of those things though. And touching on the horror thing, it's the thing with horror is that seems to be the only thing that's doing something innovative. It's like you get new horror movies consistently. And like a lot of these films are just so bad. They look bad. They look so uninspired, and it bugs me because like one of the things I've recently jumped on, which makes me kind of laugh, is I've jumped on to what's it called? Tubi, Tubby,
yep,
whatever you want to call it.
to be, yep.
Yep. It's and a lot of the things I'm looking at there. There's a lot of these great other films, like films that have been forgotten, but there's all these like not I don't even call them B films. They're like F films at this point.
Oh, I thought you
Like
meant like a
quite
B movie.
yeah, like yeah. Well, but they just they're just these movies that are so like. Do you remember walking through the old Blockbuster video style stores where you'd walk through and you'd go through all these films and then you'd find something like you know the atomic squirrels of like whatever, and you're like, what the hell is this? And it's like the worst sort of film. Like you put it on and it's like this really badly shot film with like a really bad premise about science going wrong about and squirrels having ingested atomic waste, and now they're like zombie atomic squirrels that go around killing people. And you're like, who wrote this? Who's this for? It's like films like that are on this platform, and it kind of makes me laugh because some of them are like um babes and dinosaurs, and I'm like, what? It's like thinly veiled porn.
Yeah.
um like one of them wrote as like these burly, I think the synopsis is burly men uh have been have been transformed into babes via serum of some kind that then get turned into raptors.
Hell
And I'm
yeah, I'm
like,
in.
what? Like, what did like, what?
Well, that's it's funny you say that
So
because these guys they've got a show called Best of the Worst, and they basically taken the concept of bad movie nights. So they'll rent those type of blockbuster videos, and they do literally watch VCRs most of the time, and they just have set up a camera with them
brilliant.
all watching it and reacting to it, and they have a round table where they're sitting around having a couple of beers, just talking about how ridiculous these movies are. And that's exactly what we're talking about. These guys are commoditizing off it. They're actually making a series out of it and making money off the
Brilliant.
YouTube and whatnot, which is great. But yeah, I think your point was going to be that that sort of stuff seems to have come over into Hollywood.
Yeah, it really has. Like, I mean, stuff that I would have thought would have not gotten a second look. Like, I mean, I don't know who the old producers were or who the old cast used to be. Are basically now, would have never taken a look and would have just looked at that sort of stuff and gone, nope, you're not getting a pass. Nope, we're not investing in this. Where have they gone? I mean, we need these people to come back and be like, that is a stupid idea. You do not get the money. Go away. Like, honestly, it's like because some of these movies
yeah, it's
feel that
businessmen.
way.
It's businessmen running Hollywood. It's not artists. It's simple as that. Because you look at like the Marvel stuff's been an example. There's something like at the start of every movie, there's something like 20 to 30 producers. They're all getting their fingers in there and doing their thing. Like you hear about with interviews with some people.
Disgusting.
Like I think it might have been who did the first because there's Solo. I can't remember. Ron Howard came in to fix it up, but there was another director before that, and he ended up parting ways because he disagreed. He had fights with the producers around how he wanted the direction of the movie. and he ended up giving up on it and quit because it's like, well, you guys are just hopeless. You're not listening to me. I can't have my creative freedom. And they like, you must do this, you must do that, yada yada yada. And then as a result of that, you get something like, I didn't actually buy Solo. I didn't think it was a bad movie, but you get some like the new Star Wars movies. You talk about, people trying to play it safe. They were the safest movies in history, and they were just boring as a result. I haven't gone
They
back
were
and watched them.
so
They're just
boring.
boring. They're just yeah.
Look, I've got no interest. I've got no interest like to go back and watch what's it called? Star Wars, was it Reawaken? I can't even remember anymore. Like that's how bad it was.
The Force Awakens. Yeah,
The Force Awakens. I got no interest. Like whereas I want to go back and actually watch the original series and the prequels, where everyone ragged on the prequels. I was always a fan of them. Like I'll even go as far to say I got what Jar Jar Binks was about. And he wasn't as annoying as most people remember. Quite frankly,
oh, I
like
don't know about that. It's still annoying, but yeah, it's they
I
were
mean,
still trying. Those whole movies are trying something a little bit different in the approach, and it fits into that bucket of us bagging out, prequels and sequels and whatnot. But
yeah,
yeah, still George had a vision. I mean, it wasn't
yeah, and he stuck
completely
to
come
it.
together. I mean, people looking at it style to remember, but I wasn't actually one of these people that disliked the prequels. I still like the prequels. They weren't as good as
Yeah,
the
likewise.
originals, but I loved the third one where Anakin's switching over to being Darth Vader. I love that stuff, but um, yeah, I've lost
Yeah,
the
look,
train of
look
thought.
for me, the prequels were what I guess the originals were for the kids of the 70s.
Yeah,
Like, the generation before us, the prequels were that to me. So yeah, I'm like to me, it those and I still love them. But yeah, I agree with you with every sort of slimy producer trying to get their paycheck. It's ruined the artistry. I want to see the art. I want to see new stories. I want to see things that take me away from the everyday.
yeah,
I'm watching it now. I like that constant joke of Avatar 20, Avatar. I can see that happening. Like they jump
yeah,
on like the bandwagon of one franchise and then exhaust it. Which,
yep,
quite frankly, like I no, I don't want to. Like, all right, with a Naked Gun, depending on how that goes, if there's only one movie of it, I'm calling it now. I'm happy to just see one more reboot of the Naked Gun series and have it there and then. That's it, done. I'm happy to, even if it is amazing and good, I'm happy for it to be it.
yeah.
Now, if they turn around and go, "Oh, we're doing a whole trilogy of it," why?
Well,
Like,
money. You
why?
know the answer there. Money. It's
Yeah, yeah,
it's it just if it sells well, they'll carry on. I mean, maybe it's on us because there are movies out there. Like I keep thinking I need to watch anything that's been backed by the Australian government's generally good. And I'm not talking about like if you want to see sci-fi epics or fantasy movies and whatnot, you're not getting that with these. But I've forgotten the name of the part of the business that does that in Australia. But anyway, there's anything that's been backed by typically the Australian government films are really good, but they're typically like heavy topics, like death in a family, cancer. It's all generally
mm,
pretty miserable sort of stuff, but they are good. There's those sort of movies out there. I mean, recently, like I loved Nosferatu. That was the last film I saw in theaters. That was fantastic. That's the Robert Eggers film, the clip take on the classic. Of course, that movie's been done hundreds of times already, but just the way he does his movies are incredible.
Well,
And
the
then
thing with him is,
mm,
I was going to say, sorry to interrupt. I was
go
going to say
on.
the thing with him, and I think we had this discussion once before, is he creates art, and
Yeah,
I can appreciate that. Like his stories, absolutely basic. Northman, most basic, boring story ever. Revenge plot. That's it. It's basically Hamlet. It's just a
yeah,
revenge plot. Um,
yep.
is
But it's the way it's
story wise
told.
boring. The way it's told, the imagery, the
Mm.
artistry,
Cinematography,
the
the
yeah, the
acting.
scenes just
Yep.
wow. Yeah, I was captivated just by its beauty. It was so unique and interesting. Absolutely loved it.
Yep.
But and again, there's this sort of compromise that you're willing to make. Like I'm at least willing to make. Either dazzle me with artistry, or tell me a good story.
Yeah.
And because I've seen some films that are what you would consider really off the cuff, off the wall, sort of, who's writing this? And you sit back and you watch it, and you're like, okay, what's this about? And the story captivates you, and you're like, wow, this is such a great story. And but the imagery is so basic, or just really bad at times. Like for example, there was this one series that was on Netflix that okay, the imagery wasn't necessarily bad, but the story captivated me,
Yeah.
and I was just like again, I was I kept coming back to it. I kept watching it.
Mm. An
So
example for me is that Invincible. It's not the best animation, but the story was great. That kept me coming along. Like I wasn't
yeah,
actually well. They do animate the fight scenes really well, so they are pretty cool. So they do the animation where it matters, but everything else, and there's I think they even take the Mickey out of themselves. There's a scene where Mark goes to a Comic Con convention and he speaks to one of his favorite comic artists, and he talks about how and in animation they use a lot of tricks to save on the time it takes to produce animation. And there's different shots of him. Like sometimes we hide the mouth, and they like have a shot of the person speaking, but you can't see their mouth moving. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. They cut back to Mark, and he's got his hand over his mouth, like, that's interesting, And then sometimes we do a faraway shot, so it makes it look like there's something going on, but it's actually still image. They do a shot of that, and so that's clever. And but it goes back to that point: is I don't really care as long as the story is interesting, and there are a very few out there that still do it. So that Robert Eggers is one. I'm really looking forward. I think I've talked about this. Actually, I can't remember if we've talked about this before on the stream, but no, I think we did last episode. The remake of The Running Man, and it's Edgar Wright doing
yes.
it. I'm like, oh yes, plug it into my veins because he's one of my favorite directors and producers.
And again, here's another thing as well. I was recently watching this other YouTuber, um, who's been on for a while. He's actually an Australian bloke. He's Minty. I can't remember the name of his channel, and I'm sorry. Let me quickly look it up. But he kind of does a little sort of factoid tidbit style videos, like 10 things you didn't know about what's it called?
Aliens,
Oh,
something like
yeah,
that.
alien films, and he goes through like these little factoids. Um, Minty comedic arts. Like
Okay.
occasionally he pops up on my feed, and I watch a few of his videos. And he's just so genuine, and I really love it. He's like one of us. He's like a real like film computer, I guess computer games and comic. He's just a geek like us. He's fantastic. And watching him, he was talking about like RoboCop 3, RoboCop not Transformers, RoboCop 3, and he was talking about the how like it wasn't the same actor who came back, and there was a different I think there was a lot of changes, but then he talked about the reboot as well. So the one I think in 2018, 2016, something like that, the recent one, whenever it
Hmm.
was,
God,
and he
yeah,
talked about how
yeah.
the original what's it called, yeah, 2014 was, there we go, the original director, which is dun, 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 dun. I should know this off the top of my head. Um, what's his name? The original director of the
Of
robot.
RoboCop, God.
Paul Van
Paul Van
Verhoeven.
Hoven. Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yeah, Van Hoven. Yeah. Um, he criticized both the remakes of RoboCop and Total Recall, because again he directed both of
Yeah.
them, and talked about how soulless and
Yep.
utterly uninspired they were.
Yeah, I agree with that
Like they were
completely.
just
They're
so
forgettable.
bad, and
Yep.
yeah, they were so. And now that I'm thinking of it, they are forgettable. Like the new one, sure. Look, aside from the impressive graphics and
Yeah, effects and all that. Yeah.
effects, which are fantastic. I mean, some of them are just great. But yeah, he turned around and he said that yeah, a lot of these were just so uninspired, and I agree with him. I cannot remember almost anything of the film. I could say,
Yeah, I'm
cop
trying to remember
blown
which.
up,
Yeah, RoboCop. I
gets sent
remember.
to
Yeah, I remember the accident, and I remember him waking up and what have you. That's about it. I don't.
China.
I think he fights those ED whatever bots from the original, but that's about all. I don't remember how it resolves.
Yeah.
I remember a little bit more of Total Recall because there's a cool. I think there's a cool fight scene on flying cars or something like that. Jessica Biel, like that's that's all I liked about that film. Jessica Biel's, but yeah, the rest of that, yeah, boring. It's just like you said, just uninspired. There's some wacky fun to Total Recall and RoboCop the originals, even RoboCop 2. I thought that was good, even though that was
Yeah. Oh,
kind of
yeah,
different.
you found him. Here we go. Minty.
Yeah. So yeah, I looked him up while you were talking and I've got him playing. I'll have to check him out. He looks all right.
Yeah. He's a genuine, fun guy who loves his films, and I've learned a lot of my tidbits, and I've used some of his sort of trivia bits
Did,
in some work trivia here and there.
Side
And
note,
yeah,
this is kind of what the impetus for my YouTube channel. So I'm slowly but surely working on one. I'm just busy, but once I'm sitting down, I made all these notes. I'm going to do. I've already got registered. Oh, I'm not going to say it here because I haven't actually registered yet. But I've got a name for the channel. I've started designing the logos and what have you, and I've got an idea, like basically this sort of stuff. So it's more like, you know how you and I geek out about things and look at details. I want to kind of do that in video form. So the first one the question I had was, I didn't see Diddy Kong in the new Donkey Kong Bonanza trailer. I'm like, usually he's
nope.
pretty much there hand in hand with Donkey Kong and everything. And then I thought back to myself, I was like, maybe that's a Rareware character. Like this is, Rareware before they were called Rare, they were Rareware. And and then I started thinking that'd be an interesting video because like talking about that, because I started doing my research and found out no, actually Nintendo actually own all of the Donkey Kong characters. I was under the assumption because Rare created Diddy Kong, not Donkey Kong, that they owned him. But so I was like, that'd make a really good video, and it's just exploring that and a little bit of the history of the IP and why he wasn't there. Why we might see him in the new one. We haven't seen him yet. So, and that's similar to what this Minty bloke's doing.
Yeah. No, look, definitely give him a watch. He's fantastic. I mean,
Looks like a dude.
Oh, he is. He's genuinely like fan. He's great, and he's true blue geek. Honestly, he's like I said, I enjoy watching him. He occasionally, come out with a few of his tidbits, and I'll just they're fantastic to sort of add to your, I guess, trivia in your brain and stuff. So yeah, for me the other thing as well is he's like really just genuine. He's like real genuine. So that's what I enjoy about him. Like where others tend to go big and bombastic, he's just genuine. Look, I love films. Let me tell you about it. So he's a good watch. He's a good watch, Minty.
So, is there anything you wanted to wrap up your vent, or shall we move on to the next topic?
No, let's move on to the next topic. No, that was my quick little vent about
Appreciate it. That's not going to be solved overnight, I think. But yeah.
No, unfortunately.
I wouldn't mind talking about games that I've been playing, and the first one I wanted to say is an apology to you because I did say I started playing Alundra, and I've enjoyed so far what I played of it, but I've already told you what I'm up to, and I'd rather talk about that more in detail. I think we're planning to both go through it and have a proper more of a deep dive session on it in a podcast episode. But I have to apologize because I wanted to play it not only to have the chat with you about it because I know it's one of your favorites. Plus, I'm interested in it, but I used it as like I was thinking about it before how I'm going to proposition this to you. It was like I used it as a side chick, like you might do a dating. So I was waiting I'd finished up. I can't remember what I played last. Probably in the last podcast to talk about it, but I finished up the last game I played, and then I was waiting for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So I was really looking forward to that.
You were mentioning that.
Yeah, and I decided to pick this up and play Alundra in the interim. As soon as Rebirth, with a plan to finish it, but as soon as Rebirth came out, I went, okay, I got to play it. So I picked it up. I played through Rebirth, then I played through Spider-Man 2. I've been playing a little bit of Hitman, and then just before actually this podcast, while I was watching a bit of Formula One as well, I was playing Wreckfest. But we'll come back to Alundra. But yeah, so I'll talk first about Rebirth. So unless you want to learn anything about it, but I will just say it's funny, and this is actually the same with Spider-Man 2. I actually preferred the original. So I preferred Spider-Man 1 and I preferred Final Fantasy VII Remake, mainly because they were focused in what they were doing in terms of gameplay and in story. So, of course, Final Fantasy Remake and this Rebirth is a part of a trilogy of Square doing a full-on remake of Final Fantasy VII. Really enjoyed the story and the characters. I love this Rebirth for the character development. There's a lot of side quests you can do, and it builds out the backstory of the characters. But it falls into this one's open world. Final Fantasy VII Remake was more linear. This one got many more open world areas, and it's like open world game design from like 10, 15 years ago. It's very Ubisoft, boring, I got some okay things here and there, but I found
Oh no.
myself like dragging myself to the end to get through the game because I was like, Jesus, finish, you know. But it was still really good. Like they did little bit more improvements on the combat. Like I said, the best part of it was the story and the characters. And then yeah, I got through that in the end and finished off. I have pretty much no interest in going back and replaying. Replayed remake probably twice. I really enjoyed that. But this one I'm like, I think about going back through Rebirth. I'm like, oh, so much effort. So I'm probably not going to bother. But I'm looking forward to the wrap of that because it does do the story differently to what the original one did. It uses obviously a lot of the same sort of tropes and elements. The only thing I will say it annoys me is this typical trend of bloody multiverses and whatnot. One of the major
Yes.
characters in the game dies and then she comes back magically as well. She's sort of a ghost at the end of the game, and there's obviously going to lead into the next game how that all works. But it's annoyed me. I would have liked to have heard her die because it'd be much more impactful. But pretty much right away, it's like, oh no, there's another version of her. Like, oh god, okay, whatever. So I'm a little bit frustrated with that, but yeah, enjoyed
It's
that.
funny.
Mm.
I was say not to cut you off for your final thoughts. I was say it's funny you should say that about multiverses. So I've gotten the little man into something that sort of we would have grown up with, Yu-Gi-Oh. Just because I've always enjoyed those trading card games slash card I guess battler games, but uh, watching the original anime, this is Dragon Ball Z era stuff, Pokemon era, and he sort of really gotten into it. He's really enjoyed it. And there's been a few more sequel series. We were just watching before we got on this call a video of like the timeline,
Oh yeah,
just out of curiosity. I
yep,
mean, because they've added a lot more gimmicks to the card games that sound really
yeah.
complicated and complex. And the thing that makes me laugh is we were watching it, and they're talking about these branching timelines and dimensions and all this other stuff, and it sounds exactly like the same thing. And I'm just like, what in the world? Like the original game was just like a card game in our world with like, potential mysticism in it.
Yeah.
In like in the latest seasons of the series or the new series, they're talking about how the world got destroyed and then there's people who put their souls, futuristic survivors that put their souls in androids to then go back in time and change the universes to then
What the
and then like
hell?
like,
Way to
how what
complicate
is
it.
this
Why do we
about
need that?
card games?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's this about cards?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then
Yeah. So it's a
and
bit over the
like
top. But I mean, yeah,
yeah,
they kind of do it in this, and it's the best. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of a way to explain it, but they do good. Like for example, this character here, Barrett. He's the classic tough man persona, but he's a real softy at heart. And they do have a really touching story with him and how he basically, you find out that the daughter he has through the first game and this one he's always talking about, it's actually his best friend's daughter. And he takes her on out of guilt, out of getting his own village, and his friend killed, which he thought was killed, but he's actually alive. And that's really great watching him deal with all of that, and him basically having no one to be there for him, and it's really great, really powerful stuff. And then through all the rest of the characters, you get to learn a little bit more about them. Same with Eris; she had a really hard upbringing. And spoiler, she's the one that gets killed at the end. But then it
yeah.
basically undoes all that good work with this, like, oh no, she actually is really gone, kind of like, okay, whatever.
Well, yeah, like, but wasn't that the whole point? I mean, and again, watching the movies, and again, spoiler alert at this point is like a 20-year-old spoiler almost at this point for this game. The reality is, uh, I mean, the whole point was Eris did die, but then at the end you found out that Cloud was actually living a lie where he's taking on the because I ended up playing is it Final Fantasy VII's not Advent Children, what was it, the one on PSP? The PSP or PS
That might
Vita?
be right, Adventure,
Um,
yeah, or what was it? There's been heaps of spin-offs.
yeah,
Cross, no, that's one of the new ones. God, I can't remember. Advent Children sounds right though.
yeah, I
You have
think
to look
that's
it up, can't you? Yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna have to look. It might have been the PSP one. PSP
Yeah, well, Zach comes
Crisis
into
Core
this
Final Fantasy.
Crisis Core. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah, yeah.
Zach in that one. He's in this one, and he's got much more. And he's a nice dude. He's super friendly, super happy.
Oh yeah, he's a fantastic character. Like I
Mm,
mean, again, I never played the Final Fantasy VII game originally, just because again it was turn based. Really
yeah,
wasn't sort of my thing.
yeah. Same.
Um, but I ended up playing Crisis Core, and I really enjoyed Zach's character in this. And then I sort of saw the attachment, and then I'm like, oh, storyline, story. and the pre and everything, and that got me into it. So yeah, so for me, you're right. It takes away the magnitude and significance of Eris's whole character. If she's like, no, she's alive, but secretly she's not alive, but she's like an alternate version is alive. It's like what?
Same as Zach, of
The,
course.
the, the whole
He's from the other dimension. So in this game, you have they play out. You kind of get to play him through the alternate timeline bits, and then towards the end of the game, in this one, you get to fight as him and with him alongside him, and that stuff I'm not too bad. Like I actually didn't mind that this was a multi-verse, it's just the two different dimensions, but it was more that you try and do a big moment in there where Aerith dies. Like it would have been better if she died in this one and she actually also dies in the other one. It's like what the hell's happened? How are they linked? That would have actually been better for me in the story. But to know that she's still there and it's like okay, fine, it doesn't really matter then. Whatever.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it's see, I love the way Doctor Who is always sort of addressed stuff like that. It's like, um, it's a what's it called? It's a fixed point in time. It has to happen. Like, there's no going back or changing it. It's a fixed point in time. This has to happen in order for everything else to happen.
Yeah.
Love it.
So
Cheap cop out, but love it.
yeah. So the other one, played similar sort of thing. It doesn't have is there a multiverse in this? Not really. Not in the main story. This sort of alludes to it through some artifact that's in the game. But Spider-Man 2. So I loved the first Spider-Man on PS5, PS4. So I think I might have mentioned to you that in terms of all the Spider-Man stories, it's my favorite of them. It got me emotional, got me when Aunt May died and things like that in the game. And even the ending, like Doc Ock, like I think I said to you, is I never actually seen Spider-Man 2, the movie. Oh, no, I watched it yonks ago when I was a kid, and I didn't really like it. I didn't appreciate Doc Ock. I thought it was a boring character, and it was a boring movie. But when watching this, it made me appreciate it because he's such a great character in this, and it's the great, he's trying to do the good thing and whatnot, and he ends up, falling into corruption and through the device he chucks in the back of his, spine and all that sort of stuff, and how much Peter both of them meant to each other, and him turning to really pretty much the dark side through it all. And then I went back and watched Spider-Man 2 and got a new appreciation for it because everybody goes on about it being probably the best Spider-Man movie. And I'm like, now I get it. Doc Ock's probably my favorite villain, almost actually. I still love Green Goblin. But so this movie, sorry, go on.
No, I was just saying, yes, a slight spoiler alert and tangent here is, I love that. I genuinely do because like the comics go into it in much more detail and much more, and I love how it sticks to like that comic book sort of narrative where a lot of this stuff is heavy, a lot of this stuff is more weighty. Like for example, I mean, in one of the versions, I can't remember which one, but Doc Ock actually becomes Spider-Man because like I think they switch souls or something, and I think he calls himself the superior Spider-Man. But yeah, he ends up doing good. He actually ends up doing a lot of good.
Yeah.
And Doc Ock, like I've always enjoyed that. Like with a lot of like Batman villains and a lot of Flash villains, a lot of a lot of them tend to do this trope, but it's appreciative. Is the villain was always at one point was someone that knew Peter, like knew the good guy, knew the hero, knew Bruce, knew Peter Parker, and to see them fall from grace and become this character through circumstances is it's such a great story. It might be slightly overdone, but when it's done right, it's done so well. Like
example, it wraps
you
back
feel
around to
for
what we
the
were talking
villain.
about before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right.
So so this game, Spider-Man 2, like I said, the story is basically, as you can see here, it's centered around Harry Osborn. He's become better, and it turns out find out it's the symbiote that's made him better. And yeah, the stories, and actually the funny thing is at the start of the game, I reckon they do the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man stuff better. So you switch between Peter Parker and Miles Morales. And that's great because they've both got like playoffs. Like they've got very similar abilities, but like Miles has got all these Venom abilities, and they're so much fun. So I really love. And oh man, the tech in this game. So you can instantly switch. So essentially, you could be one part of the city, like I'm going to open up the little app, and then I'm going to switch to Miles, and then it like a split second cuts to a cutscene of him flying through the, the buildings and whatnot. Like sweet, now I'm him. It's so cool effect. But yeah, Yeah, and the story, yeah, sorry, yeah, the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man stuff. So you're actually doing a lot of that. I'm going to go help this person get that cat. I'm going to go get this bank robbery. Save the people from that. And it was really well done. I was like, damn, I wish they had this in the first one because they didn't. They kind of just went bang straight into the story and the big bad villains. You're fighting the Sinister Six pretty much from the get go. And they do a little bit of friendly neighborhood stuff, but it didn't quite work. This game, it worked really well. But then as a flip side, it didn't. It sort of took forever for this story to get going. And then when it did, it was just, I don't know, it didn't have the same sort of emotional impact through a lot of it. You didn't get really to know Harry too much. They got some scenes where you go back and you play as young Peter Parker and Harry doing some mischief stuff, but it didn't really hit me as much. But I'm really excited at the end of this because, of course, as you can expect, like Norman Osborn's been through this whole thing, but he's shown he's really emotional. Like he gets really upset trying to help Harry because he's been this sick. And then at the end of the game, Harry, I don't think he's dead, but he's pretty much on his deathbed. Yeah, he comes back to life and they put him back in the hospital, but Norman's basically like beside himself. And he, makes a call like, fire up Project XYZ because they've realized like they can't rely on this symbiote to heal Harry, but they've been working on this other technology. And it was the reference. What's the serum they call for the Green Goblin that he takes? It's like,
I can't remember off the top of my
well,
because they keep changing it.
yeah, so anyway, they call it, it's like the GRN serum or whatever they call it. They've got a little code name for it. And you're like, oh, and that happens right there. I'm like, yes, bring it on. Because, I mean, again, I probably will say, as much as I love Doc Ock, I love the Green Goblin as a villain. So, and this actor plays him really well. Like, he's good. I don't see how he stands up to, like, I love, who's the one from the recent Spider-Mans? Old, who plays Green Goblin? I've forgotten his name.
William Dafoe.
That's it, Willem Dafoe. Yeah, he's brilliant. Like he's fantastic, and I don't know how he stands up to the comic, side of things, but he plays that wicked villain so well. So it'll be interesting to see how this like goes in the third game.
No, he does capture the comic character, the Norman Osborn sort of. So in the original comic book, Norman Osborn is very much portrayed like Willem Dafoe plays him.
Okay, cool.
As like sort of this guy who's been pushed out of his business and he's sort of like frustrated, but also at the same time almost gives in to that sort of manic, sort of I guess crazy villainous over the top character. And yeah, I think it's called the Goblin Serum. Some call it Goblin Serum.
Yeah, or something like that you mentioned.
Yeah, so look, I'm very happy to hear that. That's really cool. That's really, really, really cool. And look, for me, Spider-Man games have always been really cool and fun to play. Including the original PS1, like Enter Electro, that was just really cool. The whole idea of being able to just feel like Spider-Man is really awesome. One of the other ones you should play is, if you get your hands on it, I think it's Shattered Webs.
Shattered Dimension or
Shattered Dimension, something like that. Yeah,
I've heard of this one.
Yeah, because you get to play as it's an older one, but you get to play as different versions of Spider-Man, and particularly one of them being the noir universe Spider-Man, where he doesn't so much do a lot of webby stuff.
Yep.
But a lot of it is his stealth, and he's really good at sort of hiding in the shadows, so that's really fun. Yeah, no. Oh, look, man, I'm happy you're enjoying it. I mean, Spider-Man has always been a great sort of IP franchise to sort of make games off, and he like even the Sega Genesis days, he's just fantastic and fun.
And
frankly,
the most exciting thing is, so this is Insomniac developing it. They're making the next Wolverine game. So
that's gonna be fun.
I cannot wait to see that. So that's something to look forward to as well. Before I get into my next game, so I've only got probably maybe 20 minutes left. Was there anything you wanted to talk about with your games that you've been playing?
Well, I've actually been quite scarce. I haven't been playing much. The only thing I've really been playing, and again, this is going to be a complete different leap from Spider-Man and everything else that you've been discussing, has been Car Mechanic Simulator 2018.
Oh, I love it. Tell me about it.
It's look, it's a very repetitive game for that regard, but as somebody who enjoys cars and enjoys sort of like the whole tinkering and would love one day to, get the ability to sort of work on a car myself, it's pretty realistic. It's pretty realistic. You can sort of you pull apart things, you definitely look into them, and the realistic part for me is I seem to be not have enough of funds to actually buy a car, so I'm still pretty early on in it. I haven't upgraded my garage as much, and
so you got a 4-in-1 car like this one here.
Yeah, oh, not yet. And yeah, so you just take on jobs, and the whole point is you're trying to do these jobs with the minimal amount of, I guess, expenditure. So you're not trying to expend too much and trying to get them fixed, but while trying to get the most money out of them. And a lot of it is sort of guesswork, and I'm sort of still trying to work out a lot of the I guess little sort of features that you can do to identify certain things. So yeah, it is one of those games where you can just sit and waste a lot of hours on, and sort of like it's therapeutic. It's very therapeutic because you're kind of fixing things, earning money, and then eventually sort of working towards buying your first car to sort of modify and have fun. I can't wait. So I've just downloaded a lot of the DLC, which again cost me like less than $10 to do. And yeah, it for those of us who wish to have like a big garage and be able to fix cars up and all that sort of stuff, but you don't have the money and or the space, this is a good alternative.
Yeah,
Because
that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
It's this. I can't believe when you start looking into these simulator type games, they're huge everywhere, and it's it's
yeah.
a good way to think of it. Someone had mentioned them again. I was on a podcast. Is effectively the digital version of people that like have a model train set or a RC car
Mhm.
set. You know, it's just that. And I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's just that in digital form, and it's great to sort of be able to live out that fantasy.
It absolutely is. It like you said, it is living out that fantasy without having to, you know, go down that rabbit hole. Like, because I mean, like I do fish when I get a chance, but if I were to go down the fishing rabbit hole, the amount of stuff that I would be spending on it's ridiculous. And
Mm.
even like I'm sure you see it with the sort of sim racing stuff. Like, if you really wanted to get into that hardcore sort of, I compete on the what is it, um the virtual style sort of Formula One racing, whatever it is, you can spend more than a pretty penny on it. You'll be spending like almost 20 grand upwards just for a lot of stuff. The same with the fishing stuff. Like, if I really really wanted to go down that rabbit hole, I would be spending quite a lot. Whereas, you know, you know, just dipping my toes into it, getting as much fun as I can out of it, but also being able to supplement, I guess, that other side with simulators. Yeah, it scratches that itch, and this is sort of what this does. The I don't need to know the exact knowledge. The good thing is I don't get my hands dirty. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
um, and I don't need to waste money on a garage with a hydraulic lift in order to get underneath a car and do it. I can do this all in from the comfort of my seat and sort of express my creativity or interest in that subject with with a simulator. So yeah, that's sort of what I've been playing recently,
love it.
to an extent. Yeah.
Anything else? Was that the
N- no,
that was
just
about
really
it?
that, and yeah, just about it really.
Well, I'll finish up then. I'll finish up on Wreckfest for me. I will have a quick mention. I played Hitman. So Hitman's got a new mode. Well, new. It's been out for a little bit now, but Hitman had a mode called Freelancer, which is a roguelite mode within Hitman. Now
Mm.
I tried it. It's basically Hitman but in hardcore mode, and it's kind of what I wanted because the main story you go through is relatively easy. You got challenges and whatnot in that, but it's pretty easy to get it done. Um, and freelance mode's really cool. I like the idea behind it. The thing I ended up actually quitting it because it's so hard. I mean, it doesn't like basically. So in a lot of stealth sort of games, if you sneak up and take someone out, and people are sort of like in their peripheral and they don't see it, or they hear a noise and they'll turn, and you just happen to get them out of view before they get alerted. Like that happens in the base game of Hitman.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
in Freelancer, if you are like across the field and grab someone and someone's in eye line, you're getting caught. So it's really
that's
tough.
brilliant.
Yeah, so it is good in that sense. Like you have to be really clever, but I actually found myself I had to quit because I was having so many times where I thought I was being super careful. I was instead of like in the base game, I can pretty much run to my target and like throw a coin to a secluded spot. It will go, oh, what's that? Walk over there, take him out, then I'm done, and then extract it. I'm done. You can't really do that in this one. You have to almost like all right, I'm going to go and trigger this alarm, which gets some people freaked out over there. And while they're doing that, I'm going to go get the waiter and get a waiter and get their uniform. Then I'm going to go get some poison so I can poison their favorite drink to calm them down, and then you can take them out. And while that all sounds cool, doing it in reality was taking me ages. Like a thing that I'd do in a few minutes was taking me like an hour. I think I spent on one mission and ended up failing because I didn't see one dude in this particular area. A lot of it is on me, don't get me wrong, but I just found it so difficult to the point where I was like, I'm just not having fun because I'm having to like
I was
plan
just
this
about to,
out. It was just like, ugh, too much.
yeah, I was about to
So,
pipe up and say, yeah, it. Look, I don't mind the difficulty ramp up, but there is that balance where it's like, you know what? If I've been at this at an hour and I've been doing this again and again and I'm still getting the same result, and at this point it's no longer fun, it's now tedious. Yeah.
yeah, so that was just that. But anyway, I do recommend it for people who are keen on checking out something that's a bit tougher, but it's not for me. But then yeah, I just recently I reinstalled because I've been looking for I played actually the other game I'll briefly mention. I played Delta Force on PC. I hadn't played the single player, but just the multiplayer because Battlefield 2042 had bugged out on me, and I got sick of reinstalling it, so I just got rid of it. I'm like, stuff you, I'll wait for the next Battlefield. Thought, oh well, in the meantime, I'll check out Delta Force. It's really good. It's a Battlefield clone, but I don't know. I've sort of run its course with me. I got a bit bored, so I've been wanting to fill my gap with one of those sort of rogue-ish. Well, not a roguish, just to pick up and play a game that I can, don't have to spend too much brain power on. So I reinstalled this. I had played Wreckfest a bit, and I'd made the mistake when I first bought this game and played it years ago, was jumping online, and you pretty much can't do anything online because you need to actually, turns out you need to upgrade your vehicles and what have you, and your level through the single player campaign. So I was always losing and getting smashed and whatnot, so I gave it up and put it down. But now I've just been sitting on the couch while I'm watching telly and going through this in single player mode. It is a blast. It is a lot of fun. Just a very simple arcade destruction derby game, as you can see right here in the footage. It's smashing things up, and you got, obviously stuff like that. Really good destructibility. You've got little goals like, spin people around, spin 3 cars around, take out 3 cars or whatever it is. And yeah, highly recommended if you love those old school destruction derby games on the PlayStation. So much fun.
Brilliant. That's just genuinely brilliant. Yeah, it looks fun. It does look fun. And yeah, like you said, it calls back to the Destruction Derby games, which again were just heaps of fun. Something that no brain power, just me go smash.
Me smash. Cool.
Me
Well,
smash.
that's pretty much all I had. I don't know if there's anything else, or before we can wrap up.
No, I think we could wrap up. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I've actually been scarce with my video gaming, and yeah, I haven't really been spending much time on my Legion Go, I'm afraid, but I'm hoping that once certain things calm down at work, I can sort of get back to some relaxing gaming.
Yeah, too right. Cool. Right, well, that's it. Thanks for listening, everyone. Make sure you like, subscribe if you want to hear more, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Catch you in the next one.